Dreams get realized, yet some turn into nightmares. In a world where the past intertwines with the present, a new story begins. The first chapter of the ESL R1 history book has been etched onto the pages of time. Another now has its turn. The ESL R1 2023 full season is on. Find your grip and get ready for the racing to be released.
And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go.
Welcome back once again, everybody, to the ESL R1 series. Boy, oh boy, fall season has been off to a fantastic start, and now it is our penultimate round before we will all be heading over to Sweden for none other than the major. And let me tell you now, I'm super excited for it. I know everybody else is as well. And we certainly want to see all of you there as well. So if you want to grab a hold of some ESL R1 major tickets, go ahead and type !survey in the chat. We want to hear about your thoughts and feelings as to how you've been enjoying the broadcast thus far. And we also have some really cool ESL R1 major swag to give away as well. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there because DreamHack is going to be incredible. You know what else is going to be incredible though is my fantastic company here on the broadcast. I have George Morgan joining me. George, how's it going, homie? Oh, nice waistcoat.
Thank you. I'm feeling sharp, it has to be said, Jasmine. I tell you what, it's great to have you back as well, because we missed you last time, it has to be said. But looking forward, nonetheless, to the future. We've got a small matter, 2 rounds to go. And then we head to Sweden for the Winter Major, the first Winter Major as well in ESL R1. So who's going to make history? That's what I want to know. But we've got a few races to settle in between now and then.
We certainly do have a few races, but we also have a brand new track amongst us as well. What can you tell me about Road Atlanta?
Well, let's go through it. Road Atlanta, new addition here to Rennsport and also here at ESL R1. As you can see, quite a variance in this circuit. You've got the slalom S section through turns 2, 3 and 4. But then you take the elevation rise, heading up through towards turns 6 and 7. Things get a little bit more simple, but not too simple, heading through turns 8 and 9. Then you've got a chicane at turns 10, A and B. And then an in-swinger that sends you down the long straight. Opportunities for overtaking are aplenty, and I'm sure we'll see a few tonight.
Well, all of our drivers have had about 2 or so weeks to get their practice in and see if they have what it takes to take away a victory today. But we did go ahead and catch up with one of our drivers, Mikael Gard, to give us his thoughts on how Road Atlanta ends up panning out.
Crashes are probably gonna happen. Hello guys, my name is Mikkel. I'm driving for Heroic. Today I'm gonna introduce you guys to the new track in ESL R1, Road Atlanta. We are approaching turn 1 now. Here it's important to just have a lot of speed through the corner, get early on power so you can get the rotation up the hill. So this corner coming up, turn 3, is really hard because it's actually blind. It's zone first now we can see the apex, now we can see the apex. So actually turning into the corner without being able to see the apex, that can be pretty tricky. So now we are going downhill again already. So a lot of elevation on this track. Really important to stay within track limits here. So now we're in turn 5. Really bumpy on exit. Important to get a good exit as well. So I think we are a lot of drivers that has been looking forward to drive on this track since it's a new track in Rennsport in a very long time. So now we're in turn 7. This is probably the most important corner for the track because you have to get a really good exit. Now we are going down the back straight. So this is here where all the overtakes are going to happen. So really important to get a good exit here and get into the slipstream so you can make a pass down here in the chicane. So it's super important to be close to the car in front once you get to the chicane, because this is basically the only overtaking opportunity you'll get on this track. It's a pretty safe overtaking opportunity, I would say. It's not very hard to overtake a car here, but it's also basically the only place where we're going to see overtakes. So it is possible to do overtakes on other places, but it's like crashes are probably going to happen. What I like about this track is that it's so technical. It's really hard to learn, but once you get to know the track, it's really fun to be on the limit. It is my favorite track, so yeah, I think there's good opportunities.
Well, there we have it. We heard from Mikkel himself using phrasing like safe for overtakes, but then likely to be crashes. I don't know, I feel like my brain's going to implode a little bit, and I can't imagine how all of our drivers must be feeling ahead of the major as well. So George, what kind of impact does this end up having for them preparing before the major with a new track?
Yeah, well, obviously coming in at this very sensitive stage in the championship with only 2 rounds to go on the online segments before we then head, of course, to the major, it is quite a point to bring in a new track. And obviously the drivers have had to practice. They've all had the same amount of time to practice, approximately a week to 2 weeks to get used to the circuit in itself. But it's just so picturesque. There's so many opportunities. It's going to be a lot of fun, certainly, I'd imagine, for the drivers. Maybe a little stressful, but for the viewer's standpoint, and you guys at home, and certainly for us as commentators as well, it's going to be one hell of a thrill ride.
Well, I know somebody that has been already enjoying the thrilling ride thus far, and that is Lewis. Lewis, welcome to the broadcast, man. How's it going?
Yeah, no, it's going well. As you can see, I'm still in my Halloween costume. I went as George Morgan after he went to be me last week. Thank you. I mean, it's hard to see the waistcoat, but I did think I was going to bring it out for this broadcast. Of course, yesterday was exciting. It was different. It was lovely to see Road Atlanta out in action, and we've got some highlights from those knockout races. We can kind of take a little look as to what kind of happened and what we were expecting. Of course, the run down towards the first quarter is about 320 metres from where they start in pole position. Might be less than that. A very short run into what is a fast right-hander. Saw a couple of bits of drama. You know, if you've qualified badly, if you've had some issues in qualifying, you must pounce easily and early. Come down into the chicane at turn 10. You've got to make some moves. Saw a couple of those attempts. Saw Maximilian Benneker trying to work his way up the order after a qualifying ban. We'll talk more about that in a few moments' time. But actually losing out a position as he tried to get down the inside of Gianmarco Viducci. Some great moves. There is the odd occasion where you can see him move around the outside of turn 6. Turn 7 is a little bit of a tricky one as well, but this is the one that you need to nail because it nails your run all the way down to the chicane here. Graham Carroll got a good run off the corner, but then made contact with Patrick Holtzman, and Graham Carroll also had a jump start, so it went pretty badly for him. Also for Mitchell de Jong, who were on board within this, out into the barrier, just kind of trying to make it 3 wide down to that first corner. It always was going to end in tears, and unfortunately on this occasion it did as well.
Oh my goodness, that was a lot to dissect. Definitely a lot of chaos as well, which is what we love to see here on the ESL R1 broadcast. So let's go ahead and visit the results from the knockouts 1 and 2. Lewis McGlade, did anybody take you by surprise while watching the knockouts?
I mean, particularly over on the second knockouts, you know, Robbie Stapleford, Ryan Barneveld, to have those two inside the top 6 is a big shock. Seeing Max Benneker, as much as it would normally be a shock, his qualifying ban keeping him down there, actually not that surprising. Unfortunately, Elvis Rankin not quite pouncing on the form that he's shown over previous rounds. But Porsche looking really strong here, and they've started off the exact way they wanted to. Both pole positions, both wins. And here's a fun fact for you. Josh Rogers and Dane Warren set exactly the same qualifying lap, a .949. How wild's that?
Oh my goodness, I feel like there might be a bit of an imposter among us here, fellas. But what do we think of our semi-final 1 lineup and all of the drivers we have? Because we actually have some lone drivers in and amongst this semi-final 1 lineup. Do you think that's going to have much of an impact for them being the lone representative for their team?
Well, I think so. I mean, looking ahead at the semi-final 1, I mean, obviously things are getting pretty heated. Joshua Rogers obviously leading the way in terms of the point segments here in semi-final 1. Looking further down, obviously Marcel Chinchik is one to watch too. But we take a look at the likes of Robbie Stapleford, Ryan Barneveld stepping up to move into semi-final 1, looking primed and ready in their BMWs. But obviously it is still a very fraught championship. Many fits and starts, you know, peaks and troughs. And with the top 24 obviously in high contest, it's going going to be a huge, huge battle. And I can't wait to see. Obviously, it will be a test, certainly for those who have been in full time, that have obviously experienced right through the championship. They, of course, might be a little more used to it than some that have only just stepped up.
Well, as you did mention as well, George, the top 24 will be making it through to the major. But what about those that are just on the cusp? Who's going to be knocking somebody off the podium? That's the real question.
Well, you're absolutely spot on. Look at this. Some of the ones that are greyed out obviously don't feature in these final final three races, of course, that we are bringing you tonight because they have been knocked out in the knockout phase. But look at this. We have got a huge top 24 fight. And Isaac Price, who features tonight, has a great chance of perhaps elevating his position. Needs to try and garner himself safety with 2 rounds to go. Yuri Kazdorp, also huge round for him. P27 currently, 69 points. He needs to get something now and also in round 8. If he doesn't, he can kiss his chances at gaining access to Sweden goodbye. Enzo Benito and Robbie Stapleford also chasing respectability as we look towards the major.
Well, in addition to our Drivers' Championship, we do indeed have our Team Championship as well. So, Lewis McGlade, what do you make of some of the improvements that our teams have been making so far?
Yeah, of course. RHG aren't on this, by the way. They've because they're so far up the list, they've gone. They've checked out at the top of the team standing. So we're focused on those that are kind of in the battle for second. Porsche Coanda over the last couple of rounds, they're the one highlighted in green. They've actually had a really solid last couple of rounds. But look at the rise from Redline in that yellow bar. They've had a struggle to the start of the season, but they've been rising their way up. Obviously, a solid last round with Kevin Siggy's performance pushes them now after the knockouts as well from yesterday, pushes them ahead of Williams, who is starting to falter a little bit concerningly.
Well, I love that point that you make about Redline because obviously last season they were dominating the competition and I feel like they had a very, very slow start to this season. But what about Jeffrey Rietveld in particular? Gamers 8, he certainly impressed us.
He did. Jeffrey Rietveld was one of the shining lights, I think. And if you chart his progression, didn't have the ideal spring season. It sort of fell apart a little bit for Jeffrey Rietveld, but has since garnered that form back that we saw. We were wondering if it would carry over from Gamers 8, but now looking ahead, obviously, to the rest of this fall season, he has definitely found a little bit of form. We have a look to the head-to-head. Obviously, we did look at the Williams team as well. Jakub Brzezinski, certainly a formidable force, but look at the total points. 130 Rietveld's way, but the top sixes, they're level. Nothing separating them. And looking ahead, obviously, Redline will be looking to perhaps achieve a little bit more, given the fact they've got such a strong lineup looking ahead to Sweden.
And how about you, Lewis? Who are you going to be keeping your eyes on heading into this race?
Well, I said about those surprises from Knockout too. I'm very much keeping my eye on the pair of them, Ryan Barneveld and Robbie Stapleford. You know, it feels like Robbie's kind of learning a little bit from Sebi's speed that he's been showing in the championship, and he is getting faster and faster. I mean, look at the top 6% of these two. It's not that high. They don't typically progress too far in the tournaments. That's why they're quite far down the championship. 35th for Robbie Stapleford, 41st for Ryan Barneveld. These are the kind of rounds where you can start to turn things around. Maybe Robbie still has a chance of getting inside that top 24, even if it's a bit of an outside shot. But to be fair, they're out here just to show why they're a part of these teams and why they belong in this competition. So it's great to see.
Well, it's definitely all to race for all of our teams and all of our drivers as well, as the major is well and truly approaching. So another reminder for everybody joining us, !survey in the chat. Make sure you fill in that survey because we have 5 tickets to give away for the DreamHack Festival. I'm super excited to see everybody there, whilst representing, of course, the super cool ESL R1 major hoodies as well. I cannot wait to get my hands on one of those as well. But throughout the season, we've been giving our predictions ahead of every single race, and let me tell you now, spoiler alert, I'm goated. Queen of predictions. We gave our predictions for the knockout stages, and these were the final results. Lewis, how's it doing with 71% all the way down there?
Look, I got 18 last time. I got 75% last time. That's fine. I'm okay with 17 out of 24. It's a tough prediction game. At least that's how I'm sleeping at night. All right, thank you. Thanks for bringing it up.
So
cool.
basically, George, what he's saying is, you know how we had the progression for the team championship? He's doing that, but backwards, right?
Yeah,
okay, that's
absolutely. Hey, look, when you go back to school, right, and your teacher marks your essay or something, and if you have lots of red pen all over your paperwork, it's not a good sign. Lewis's number coated in red as well for good reason. It means relegation, Mr. McGlade, and I am 1 point higher than you, and I'm not going to let you forget it.
Well, on that note, fellas, I'm going to go ahead and throw my prediction for this upcoming race into the mix so that neither of you can steal it away from me. So I am going with Dara McCormack. How about you, George?
Oh, I tell you what, that is a very spicy choice. I mean, looking ahead, oh, it's a tough one, though I am going to go with Marcel Chinchik. I think RAG have something up their sleeve, and he is a talent, a proven talent. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on at Road Atlanta.
I mean, the Porsche Commanders have gone quite strong around here, so I'm going to lean towards one of them. And yes, I'm going to take the more predictable one. No disrespect to you, Dane. I know you're fast enough, but I am going to lean a little bit towards Josh Rogers taking the victory, at least in this race.
All right. Some debatable decisions. I'm definitely not questioning my own prediction here right now, fellas. But without further ado, I'm going to let you take it from here because I'm super excited to embark on Road Atlanta.
Absolutely right. Jasmine, thank you so much as always. Lewis, we've arrived. It is once again race time, but first of all, a qualifying session. But obviously of note, Road Atlanta, we've yet to see it in action, certainly here in semi-final, final equation. So still a lot of question marks, I would say, as to how these drivers are going to perform on the Rennsport platform. We, of course, have seen drivers be successful here in this championship already. I'm looking at the Porsche Commander team, in fact. You did mention it. They had 2 drivers finish P1 in Knockout 1 and Knockout 2.
Yeah, and like I said, they both set exactly the same lap time in qualifying. It was a .949. Wasn't the fastest lap of the day, though. That was set by Sebastian Job. We'll discuss that a little bit later on, who went blisteringly quick, went 2/10 even faster than that. So that's a terrifying prospect. And I'm sure it might have woken up, Porsche Commander or something like that in the knockout phase. They would have seen that happening and they might feel the need to react. But I think everyone knows the single most important thing is nail your qualifying lap. It is so important around here. It's a difficult circuit to pass out at the best of times. If you make a mistake and you start in 12th position, 10th position, your likelihood of going through is, well, it's not looking good. It's looking like some of my predictions.
Well, let me just say, when we talk Road Atlanta, it's a question of risk and reward, and you alluded to the qualifying session about how imperative I believe it truly is around this track. Obviously, given the fact that you've got such steep elevation coming up through towards turn 6 and 7, it is certainly quite dramatic. Very picturesque, might I add, but nonetheless, opportunities for those drivers out on circuit. Certainly, as we saw from Mikael Garda earlier on when he took us on the track guide, heading on the straight before then hitting the chicane, prime overtaking spot. But like I said, risk and reward, you don't want to late brake too much, otherwise you could be in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's like 100-odd foot of elevation around the entire circuit. Certainly as you come out of the final corner and drop down the hill, that's 80 feet that they drop down and pretty much rise back up to get into turn 3 and turn 2. What a banging headset. I think he's stolen that from Eamon Murphy.
That is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it definitely looks like one of Eamon Murphy's wardrobe collections, I would say. As we now see Stapleford make his way through the second sector. 9.645 there in the first sector, as he now looks to try and spiritedly drive his car through this next segment of circuit, trying to nip it in tight to the inside and then maximise the speed heading out of every single corner, which can obviously make a difference in terms of lap time, especially around a track such as this. It's quite fast pace underneath the Audi Sport banner as he now sprints down this next segment. It's very important that he can try and build on this, but a 40.065, and he didn't look very happy there, Lewis.
No, the first sector is actually really quite good. It's faster than even Sebi Job went in the first sector yesterday. But the second sector, he's lost about 2/10. This is probably going to aim to be somewhere in the 17s.
Yeah, when he's going to try and dig deep here, taking the in-swinger before then beckoning his way down the straight. A 27.347, that's a 117.057 as well. Puts him P1 for now, but we've got Dara McCormack, should I say, coming up next.
And you can see that second sector is not great, 40.1. That's about 3/10 off where we're expecting. It might still be slightly faster than Robbie Stapleford. This Merc does take the curb slightly better than some of the other cars. It helps through the SS section and particularly helps in that final chicane. Here comes McCormack then across the line. The first sector's really hot though. What can he do in the final one? Across the line he'll go. He doesn't look particularly pleased. A 17.021. He's getting frustrated with qualifying, is Dara, but he is at least on our provisional pole in the bottom right.
Yeah, we weren't overly impressed with Robbie Stapleford's middle sector, and Dara McCormack certainly wasn't impressed with his own time, 36,000 slower, or should I say faster than Robbie Stapleford, who's now down into second. But Dane Warren, the man who maximised his opportunities in the knockout phase to grasp victory in knockout 2, and now looking to try and muster in a time. Darren McCormack looks absolutely devastated in the bottom right of your screen, as you can see. Dane Warren is going to make matters more miserable for him, I am sure, though, as he heads towards Sector 3, a 1:16.947, 75 thousandths of a second faster than Darren McCormack.
Yeah, that Porsche goes well in the final sector. That is 3 thousandths of a second faster than what Dane Warren went yesterday in his qualifying set. A 9.49 yesterday, now a 9.46. Expect this qualifying session to be rather close, by the way. Yeah, even closer than what we see when we go racing at the Hockenheim ring. Jakob Brzezinski will come through the final corner and up towards the line. What is he going to grab as he crosses the stripe? He's about a tenth and a bit off pole position, 17.085.
Yeah, he certainly is. Kevin Ellis Jr. also making his way around on his lap. I was very impressed with him as well in the knockouts, and he has certainly proven to bring some great results. Had some heartache, though, at Spa last time out after a critical incident that forced him out of the rest of the evening's proceedings. But now look at a fight back here in grand style here at Road Atlanta. And what an occasion it would be for Team ART Mercedes as he now makes his way down the straight. Goes fastest immediately and breaches past Dane Warren over a tenth and a quarter of a second.
That is the second fastest lap time we've seen at Road Atlanta. That is amazing from Kevin Ellis Jr. His teammate, Jamie Fluke, had set the second fastest lap time yesterday with a 9.39. That is an amazing lap time from Kevin Ellis Jr. Here comes Erhan Yovski. Unfortunately, a slowdown in the middle sector, so he's definitely going to be at the rear of the field. And I'm going to bring up an interesting fact. You obviously see the fun fact in the bottom left there. A fun fact from our point of view, we're doing the predictor again, that little predictor that we're doing. There's 8 of us on it, and all 8 of us have not picked Erhan Yovski to go through here. Is that a bad omen for him? Well, it's starting to look that way.
Oh, dearie me, 7.4 seconds off the top. Ryan Barneveld now looking to set a lap this time around. Might be encouraged to see what Kevin Ellis Jr. has managed to do. Obviously, Ryan Barneveld representing the BS Plus competition team that are partnered with BMW as well, as they make their way into the final in-swinger once again. Let's see what he can muster. That second sector's pretty good. That's not bad for Barneveld. Third fastest, and faster than Darren McCormack. Both Williamses below this BMW.
Yeah, getting in the 16s is a solid effort. Let's see what Josh Rogers can do. I'm expecting the middle sector to potentially be a little bit slower. He's actually crossed it already, and we don't have that second sector time. I did know that Dane Warren's second sector was slower than expected, so maybe the Porsche struggling a bit in there, but it brings it back in that final sector, maybe courtesy of the straight line speed down towards that chicane, the drive that it gets off of turn 10A and 10B. Then you go through 11, and then somehow you get to turn 13. Welcome to American corner numbers, and yes, I will get angry about it. Rogers over the line, and he'll go slightly behind his teammate with a 9.57.
Well, maybe Marcel Chinchik can allay your frustrations or make it worse, certainly in terms of predictions. This is, of course, my prediction. There's no Chinchik. Mark makes his way down the final sector now. A 9.672 is pretty good in the first sector. A 40.013 is competitive in sector 2, considering the lap times we've already seen, as he now takes the in-swinger out of 10A and 10B through turn 12 now. Let's see what Chinchik can bring here for REG. Up towards the line now. Where's it going to position you, Marcel? Is it going to be enough? I'm not quite sure. Looking on the list, yeah, he's gone second fastest, just a tenth off.
Yeah, Timmins Tatler will be the next one. You can see in the bottom right pole position cam, Kevin Ellis Jr. getting a little bit of a handshake from various teammates coming in. Just going to point this out right now, again on our predictor. Veracity didn't even pick Kevin Ellis Jr. to go through, so just throwing that one out there. Miss, I'm so perfect. But no, Timmins Tatler will come out towards the line. What can he do? 17.0 towards the back, just 9th place for Tatler.
Yeah, 2 3/4 tenths separating everybody between P1 and 9. Sensational. Jeffrey Rietveld coming up next, and look at that, a 39.9 in sector 2 is very promising for Team Redline, and the first sector isn't bad either. Makes his way over the crest, comes down the hill now, turn 11 and turn 12 to come through the slalom, and now beckoning his way down the straight. Is it going to be for Rietveld? Oh, P7. I don't think that final sector was ideal for him.
One final lap time left to go in this session, and let's see what it's going to be. A 6.25 in the first sector is very, very strong. So that's a solid effort. A 39.967 in the middle is okay. It's about a tenth and a half off where we expect. This could be good enough, though, for the front row, courtesy of how strong Kevin Ellis Jr.'s pole time is. I'm not sure it's going to be good enough to go and challenge the Apex Racing Team driver at the moment for that pole time. Luke Bennett out across the line, and it is going to be second place for the Team Redline man.
Absolutely fabulous indeed. Let's take you through the grid from back to front. It's going to be Erhan Yuyovski on the back row with Thomas Tatler joining him in 11th place. Jakub Brzezinski in 10th with Robbie Stapleford in 9th. Jeffrey Rietveld in 8th place. Darren McCormack in 7th. I think you'll be a little disappointed with that. Ryan Barneveld, great lap from him as well to go P6 with Joshua Rogers alongside him too. Dane Warren also in the Porsche Commander, 4th place with 3rd going to Marcel Chinchik. Luke Bennett with a stunning lap on that run goes 2nd fastest, but Kevin Ellis Jr. answering the call from ART. Redemption day for Kevin Ellis Jr. He's on pole when we go racing for the first time tonight here at Road Atlanta. What a way to start, building on a very, very good knockout run, and now returning again. Next up, he's going to look to take his 2nd win of the winter season. Can he achieve that?
Yeah, you can see him there on the left front row of the grid here in camera, and already straight back out on circuit, getting into race mode. Got to say for Kevin Ellis Jr., we've seen a couple of impressive laps in ESL R1 from him. Anyone who will remember back to Gamers 8, the Drivers' Championship, it came down to a playoff between himself and Marko Pejic, and it was 1v1 when it comes to who set the fastest lap time around Spa, and it ended up being Kevin Ellis Jr. Again, that was an amazing lap under the most incredible pressure. Trust me, that lap that he's just set is absolutely up there. If anything, it's a little bit better, as we can see over the shoulder of Ryan Barneveld. He impressed quite a bit in that session as well, to be fair.
I was very impressed with Ryan Barneveld. Has not yet actually achieved a podium this season, so might be a chance here for Barneveld to clinch his best result of the run to Sweden. There's Robbie Stapleford with those very sharp-looking headphones as we take a closer look on them as well. Erhan Yuyovski, and I think he'll be looking to try and fight back here for R8G, who I would say a little bit haven't necessarily been at their very best. I mean, in comparison to the spring season, I think they're looking for a little more, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, look, R8G are a fantastic team. They're basically already tied up the team's championship. They've got all 4 of their drivers going. Now, to be fair, at the moment, they're just going after glory and where they can finish in the drivers' championship. So, I think they'll be a bit disappointed with what's happened to Erhan, but nothing too major. He's had a couple of technical issues. Kevin Ellis Jr. had the door closed on him last round, so he kicked
bizarre,
one in real life.
Well, I mean, let's be honest.
What a fact!
That's sensational. I mean, to be fair, I did allude to it. Spa wasn't, should we say, the best night of racing for Kevin Ellis Jr., and he is on a redemption comeback, but he's coming back in the right way. Joshua Rogers as well, not necessarily having the best of qualifying session. You just see the frustration on his face too, making sure he's hydrated, ready for the race, because he's going to have a busy one. Jakub Brzezinski as well for Williams, Darren McCormack, and here are going to be looking to try and charge up the field. They're going to need to try and get both cars into the final, of course. Big results on promise. Thomas Tatler, another one as well, a heroic car that's looking to try and force his way into the issue.
George, this one's going to be tough. Again, it's that short run down towards the first corner. It's about 300 metres again from where they start on pole position into quite a fast right-hander. Getting through that cleanly is not easy. It's so easy to trip up over someone else. They've got to nail that race start. This is going to be highly dramatic, I'm sure.
Yeah, all cars now lined up for the first time here at Road Atlanta, here in semi-final action, as now we await for them to go racing here, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Kevin Ellis Jr. got away so strong as he now makes his way through the first section. Of course, he's got to find his way through now, past this dogged right-hander, down the straight, through towards the S's, and straight away, Kevin Ellis Jr. giving a nice tidy advantage at the front for ART, with Team Redline waiting in the wings in behind.
Yeah, a bit of a struggle on the start there from Marcel Chinchik, almost dropped back into the clutch of those behind us, found his form though, That's a massive moment though, that is huge. Was that Dane Warren or was that, yeah, it was Warren, out way wide, taking a lot of the gravel and just being sent up to the sky, losing out 8 positions in doing so.
That is the tough point on the track. The S's section can catch you out, and unfortunately, if you're Dane Warren, you have been caught out. Now sees himself just ahead of Thomas Tatler and Erhan Yuyovski, who also struggles right at the back of the field, trying to gain places, and it definitely is not just an uphill climb here at this point as they run up towards turn 6, but here at this point, not being in the top 6 here in this race format is obviously going to send you out of tonight's round, as we now see, deep dive there, running very messily there, Robbie Stapleford, as he tries to defend the place. Dane Warren will take full advantage on the outside of turn 7 and snuffs it out from underneath him, as now we see wheel-to-wheel battling here between Stapleford and Thomas Tatler.
Watch out for the 3 wide. Here comes Yuyovski, making it down the inside of the first corner. This is surely going to end in tears. The Macedonian sends it through, up 2 for the price of 1, and Robbie Stapleford is sent down the road.
Yeah, he's having a real rough time out there. It's gone from bad to worse. Yuyovski, though, it's gone better for him. 2 places gained already. He's ahead of Tatler, he's ahead of Stapleford now, but needs to try and hold back the force from this heroic Porsche as they look to now make their way through the slalom once again. Heading down the hill now this time around as we now see Dara McCormack currently sat in 5th place. He's got his teammate down in 8th as well, Jakob Brzezinski, who's going to try and leapfrog his way past Jeffrey Rietveld, who unfortunately sees himself just outside the top 6. Ryan Barneveld, should it stay like this, will go through to a final, which I'm sure he'll be delighted with. But Kevin Ellis Jr. impressing him at the front end, already half a second in front and keeping Luke Bennett behind.
Just going to say it, by the way, the top 5 at the moment, all 5 my picks to go through. I would quite like Jeffrey Rietveld to make a move on Ryan Barneveld for no specific reason, nothing against BMW and Team BS competition, but I want to win. And here goes Jeffrey Rietveld straight down the inside from 10A, 10B. Big slide there from Ryan Barneveld. Rietveld gets himself inside the top 6.
Yeah, we expected Road Atlanta to be chaotic. It has been that. Jakob Brzezinski now looking to make big moves too, to perhaps join his teammate Dara McCormack into the top 6. That's a little bit of work to do though, and could yet face jeopardy as now Dane Warren, who is rapid, losing places at the very start. Remember when he made his way through the S's as they now come over the crest, wheel to wheel again. It is literally rear white to front left as they make contact heading through the slalom, and now we see them come together. Dane Warren fighting back as he tucks down the inside. Porsche Commander in the ascendancy. Dane Warren, he's looking to get the bit between his teeth and force his car straight back up the field.
Yeah, I know that's only for 8th position, but can I just say, what an unbelievable move from Dane Warren. Great drive between himself and Brzezinski, showing the experience, showing the ability to race around here. I mean, it's a fantastic track. It is genuinely, it is in my top 5 greatest tracks on the entire planet. It can be a little bit tricky to race, but when you get moves like that, you have to earn them. You're never gifted this move. It's not just a big slipstream down into a corner and then you dive it down the inside. You have to work for the move, even coming down here into the chicane. Yeah, it is all about that slipstream, but you have to commit, you have to be brave, you have to send it in, and you have to take quite a lot of that curb, which, trust me, the curbs on the inside of this corner are very risky. They will absolutely spin you around if you take too much. So we saw a bit of a look there from Timmins Tatler on the back end of Erhan Yovski. What a brilliant race there between the pair of them. Ellis Jr. though leading, and what I was going to say, Merc over BMW. We do see the BMW struggle a little bit for tyre wear towards the end of the race, and I fear Luke Bennett might be on the end of that unless he gets through pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. He's closed the gap, Luke Bennett, brought it into within, well, it's nearly 0.3 of a second away, so 0.2 gained already since we last looked. Kevin Ellis Jr. with the fastest lap so far, as well as they head through the next slalom section over the crest again. The scenes of where we saw Dane Warren make that fabulous overtake. Of course, that was also the point where he lost the car earlier on in the race as well, and has now had to enter into fight-back mode. He's right now, well, he's right behind Ryan Barneveld. Half a second separates them, and Barneveld's in trouble here because he's in P7, and that delta is going outwards. He could yet see him go outside a second from Jeffrey Rietveld in 6th place.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, to see him inside the top 6, to see him on the form, I think he's got to be very proud of himself because he's clearly found a lot of speed coming into Red. There's a track we've seen him go well at before anyway, fair enough. Yes, sure, being outside the top 6 would be disappointing. He was looking for a final. But to be honest, again, pace-wise, been brilliant so far. Here comes a move, Yovski versus Brzezinski. These two have seen fight time and time again over on R-Factor 2. Doors open for Timmins Tatler to potentially sneak his way through in that heroic car. He'll be very disappointed with where he is. Obviously, he's inside the top 24 in the points, so he is at the moment going to Sweden. But he can't afford too many missteps. There's another move coming from Yovski. Yeah,
absolutely. He also has to defend away as well from Robbie Stapleford, Thomas Tatler as well in behind. Stapleford, unfortunately, 2 seconds behind, so he's quite a way behind, but he's starting to try and garner that pace back as they enter the Slalom S's section. There we see Thomas Tatler, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, maybe slightly frazzled. Has actually lost quite a considerable amount of time. Let's take a look at a replay here. Oh, that was the moment where Dane Warren lost the car altogether. Of course, though, he would get redemption at that same spot on track. It would lead to him elevating himself up the order and has garnered him that 8th place.
Yeah, honestly, that was scary. That was really, really scary. The thing is, normally when you see a car, go out that wide, they are allowed to go out as far as the cones on the exit of Turn 5, which is very common around Road Atlanta. That's not just a rule that we've got here in ESL R1 or just for this competition, just here in Motorsport. That is the rule even in real life. They're allowed to use that curb all the way out there, and then as long as they bring it back in the road, it's what makes it a cool corner, to be honest. But if you get a big bit of error or you get awkwardly placed on the curb, generally speaking, you end up in that wall on the right-hand side. So he's got very fortuitous there that he's still in the race and still sort of has an outside chance of moving his way through. He's got to get past Ryan Barneveld and then close down what will eventually be, by the time he gets past, a 1.5 second gap Maybe it's too large, but with Dane Warren's speed, I don't think it is. It's just he's not going to get too many opportunities late in the race if he does get past pretty soon.
Yeah, a little bit of understeer, I think, creeping into Ryan Barneveld there, as well as the BMW flies through the first sector. Just look at Dane Warren, speak about his quali pace. Of course, we've spoken that it definitely is his strong suit. Of course, now starting to show it here in a race format. Obviously, we saw him take race victory in yesterday's knockout phase, as we alluded to, of course, being in race 2 of that night. And now coming back again, looking to try and force his way into the top 6. But Ryan Barneveld now dropping 10th by 10th away from Jeffrey Rierveld. And while this is the case, of course, Dane Warren, as a consequence, will also be losing Delta as well. So he needs to get past his BMW if he wants to stand any chance of getting his way into the top 6. And we're on lap 6 of 12. Those laps, certainly around Road Atlanta, very fast-paced circuit here. They can fall away very quickly.
Yeah, it's insanely high speed around the circuit. The average speed is incredibly high because, I mean, this chicane here is basically the slowest you get onto the circuit, and it's not even that slow. It's a pretty quick chicane down the inside. Dane Warren's going to go, moving himself into 7th position. The inside line still being taken, almost a bit of contact between the pair of them. But the Porsche Coanda driver now up into 7th place. Needs one more to progress further on in this competition today. But I think they're all embroiled in a fight for 7th, and I don't think there is a chance of getting in the top 6. Contact between Brzezinski and Barneveld. They're both out in the barrier.
Absolutely, and an evasive action for Robbie Stapleford as well, who managed to dodge it so well. I mean, obviously, Jakub Brzezinski, credit to him for controlling the car to a certain degree to avoid the collision, put the brakes on, obviously trying to prevent the collision between him and Robbie Stapleford. Stapleford taking evasive action. We rejoin, though, with Kevin Ellis Jr. up at the front end and has managed his race superbly well. He's still got Luke Bennett, though, probing in behind, though. The gap, though, has gone out. Remember, it was 3/10. It's now nearly touching 6/10, nearly doubled already. Lap 7 of 12 now. Chinchik also coming into the mix as well. But look at Dane Warren. The gap now 2 seconds separating him and Rierveld.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the moment, I think with the top 6, where we sometimes see, like, you know, when we go racing at like Hockenheim or Spa or whatever, yeah, we'll sometimes see those racing inside the top 6. I think this will actually kind of go back to how we were last season. You know, obviously before we introduced points being gifted out during the knockouts and semi-finals. I think people will not be wanting to take any major risks here. They'll want to take this one race at a time, get their way into the final. If you try and go side by side through here at almost any point in the circuit, you are increasing your risk tenfold, and the chance of there being an incident is super high. I think everyone's pretty calm, and they're just excited about getting to the final here.
Well, it's been a thriller here at Road Atlanta, but we've still got a small matter of 4 laps to go. And here at this stage, as we now see Joshua Rogers, still calm and composed. Porsche Coanda can enjoy at least one car going through into the final later on tonight. But of course, Dane Warren would love to make it too. He has actually started to poke around that Delta. A little unsteady though, as we now saw. We just saw Joshua Rogers coming over the crest. There's Jeffrey Rierveld. You can see on the bottom left-hand corner, still as composed as ever. I think just wants to bring the car home in one piece. Just wants to make sure that at least he's in the top 6 and can bring himself into the final equation. It's been a very solid Team Redline run so far, with Luke Bennett doing extremely well in 2nd place after that stellar qualifying lap that put him on the front row of the grid before we hit pedal to the metal here in semi-final 1. As they make their way down the straight now, over the crest again, down the hill as well, just slightly. Just see them now all beckoning their way, all nose to tail, near enough. Though Darren McCormack now outside a 2nd of Joshua Rogers here at this point as the Porsche. It seems to be going so well around this track here at this stage. As we now see Chinchik, or should I say Johan Jujowski, trying to close down on Dane Warren. His teammate currently sits, Marcel Chinchik, in 3rd place, which is good news for my prediction here, Lewis McGlade.
Yeah, what I was going to say, by the way, speaking of your predictions and what's concerning me the most in this race, with Jeffrey Rierveld starting to struggle again, maybe BMW tyres here, starting to struggle a little bit. Dane Warren closing in. If Warren gets through, that's 100% for you, 6 out of 6. So we'll all keep our fingers crossed for that not to happen. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We're not panicking. But no, Dane Warren, yeah, I think he will have the pace. I think he will almost certainly get a chance to go for Rierveld here, but needs to have essentially a perfect run here. There can be no mistakes for Warren in the next 4 laps around Road Atlanta, which, by the way, is really difficult, even for the drivers at the very best. And I'm sure the heart rates are through the roof at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. We saw, obviously, many of them practicing around Road Atlanta and mustering in a lot of time, and they had to in such a short space of time. Only around a week to 2 weeks they've had of practice around this track, and obviously it does take certainly in many cases a long time to muster in optimal pace around a circuit. here at Road Atlanta, where there's so much variance and obviously high-speed sections, it's very tricky to dial yourself in. But obviously, from what we've seen, the driver's doing a splendid job of managing that fact now as we see them take the in-swinger heading through towards the home main straight. There you can see now on our screen, Erhan Yovski getting right and tucked in behind the magnificent Macedonian, who has brought certainly some stellar results for RAG, looking to join Chinchik up into the top 6, but now on lap 10 of 12. It only leaves a small matter of 2 laps left to go here in this race. And Dane Warren, he's going to be a great wall. But look at the gap between Warren and Rietveld, 1.4 now. 5 tenths leaking away from Jeffrey Rietveld, and Warren starting to get on the attack.
And is it your birthday, George? Because I've just been given a bit of information which might be considered a birthday present for you. Jeffrey Rietveld has a 1 second time penalty, which will be applied post-race. So Dane Warren, if he wants to go further in this competition, he needs to get within that 1 second. It's 1.3, he's 3 tenths outside it at the moment. He could progress, and I'm pretty sure he's well aware of that. I'm pretty sure Erhan Yovski is well aware of that. He will want to get past Warren and get within a second of Rietveld and progress his way through into the final. That is a tall order if ever I've heard it. We'll have to wait and see though, but that gap currently sitting at 1.2 seconds. 2 laps left to go. It's going to grow in that middle sector slightly, but it's going to come back in the final sector is what we're seeing here. This is going to come down to thousandths, I believe.
Well, what was 1.2 could become 2 tenths. So there we have it. Dane Warren with a great chance here of ascending into the next round. Let's wait and see, or certainly the next race indeed, the final race of tonight to decide who will be round victor here at Road Atlanta. There's Yovski, who will know that as well, I'm sure. I'm sure Mehdi, the team boss, would have got in the ear of him and said, listen, you've got a great chance here. Just need to get yourself past Dane Warren and to within a second of Jeffrey Rietveld, and you could yet go through, as now we see them come over the crest. Josh Rogers right on the tail now of Marcel Chinchik. So RAG and Porsche Coanda battling at 2 different zones in the classification. Nevertheless, it's going to get a lot hotter than this.
Yeah, certainly so. Let's see if Roger's going to try anything here on Marcel Chinchik. I think the idea of a race victory for anyone else other than Kevin Ellis Jr. has absolutely slipped through their fingers. Ellis Jr. is flying at the moment, looking for his 3rd victory in ESL R1. Here comes a look from Marcel Chinchik. Luke Bennett starting to struggle just a little bit, and straight around the outside. That is going to be a move from Chinchik into second. I don't think Bennett was risking anything majorly there.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But look at this. Oh, goodness me. Josh Rogers very nearly lost it all, coming over the crest and nipping onto the grass. But as they make their way down the straight again, ahead of him, Luke Bennett as well. All fingers and thumbs as he looks to try and bring the car through this next right-hander. Of course, he's got Chinchik ahead of him here in 2nd place as they look to make their way through. Bennett losing out big time as Chinchik consolidates himself in P2.
Yeah, I don't think Rogers, by the way, was as calm as he looked in his webcam. I think that one's frozen because he looked like he wasn't moving at all. And I'm not even joking. I think it was absolutely locked in place. Things getting dramatic for Jeff Rietveld because at the moment he's now dropped back to 9 tenths of a second clear. I think he's going to be dropping back behind Warren at the moment as Rogers is feeling the pressure from it. Darren McCormack, of course it is.
Yeah, Darren McCormack now only 2 tenths away and starting to try and pull himself together. And you see him in the bottom left-hand corner. Point speed prizes. The higher you are up, the better points you score. And that's certainly what's on Darren McCormack's mind, certainly on Williams Esports' mind as well, as they make their way down the straight once again. And for the final time here on this lap, certainly the final time in this race as they make their way now down through towards the final chicane here on this circuit. They beckon their way through, but Luke Bennett will have no way to certainly try and challenge this. Jakub Brzezinski right to the tail of the field as they now make their way around the crest. This man, though, I'm sure will celebrate. He is not only a 4-time podium sitter, he's not only 1-time a race winner, he's 2-time a race winner. It's Kevin Ellis Jr. who takes victory here. And what a courageous drive from this young man. It all started with a vibrant pole position. He then closed it out in truly clinical fashion. Apex Racing Team Mercedes can celebrate here in the United States with a stellar result for their man. It's Kevin Ellis Jr. He's your victor.
Yeah, indeed. Amazing stuff there from Kevin Ellis Jr. Again, amazing drive. We'll take a look at a couple of highlights from the race, mostly of Jeffrey Rietveld at the moment, and seeing how things pieced his way through for this one. You can see this is through the races how he got his way past Ryan Barneveld. The reason why I'm focusing here is he's a driver that was on the cusp of getting his way through, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he's going to. He had to work for this bit though, straight around the outside of Barneveld. Honestly, brilliant stuff. It's a bit earlier on in the race, just getting involved in that train going through the first sector. You can see how tight and narrow it is, and the most important focus for him throughout the entire race was that gap back to Dane Warren, and how much that was closing. And unfortunately for him, a 1 second penalty. We're not 100% sure what it was for. I think it might have been something to do with the move with Barneveld. We don't have an answer to that one, but that 1 second penalty, George, might well have cost him. And unfortunately, in our predictor, that means, as far as I'm aware, you've got 100% correct. But you're not alone, because Dane Baird and Cam Roger also did. So thank you to them, who's bringing us the in-game feed as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I am chuffed. I think, honestly, I think it just goes to show, one big calculator I am, Lewis McGlade. Brilliant, on point. But yeah, obviously, tremendous result here as well. And obviously, we'll hear from Dane Warren very, very shortly too. But what a tremendous drive from Kevin Ellis Jr. How can you summarise that, Lewis?
I mean, it's just impressive. Obviously, their move into the Mercs, the Apex Racing team, has been very, very positive, and Kevin Ellis Jr. has just made the most of that. And to see him take a victory like this, obviously he was very emotional when he took the win earlier on in the season. He was very emotional with that pole time that he set, which, by the way, was incredible. Are the Apex Racing team an outside chance to take a victory here? They've got Kevin Ellis Jr., who's looking pretty fast. They've got Jamie Flug, who's looking pretty fast. They've got Johan Arthur, who took his first win in the ESL R1 yesterday. I think genuinely they've got the pace to absolutely get the big prize here.
Yeah, they do. They do have an outside chance. In fact, we can take a look at the provisional race results as well. So let's talk you through them, folks. Here they are. Kevin Ellis Jr., as you saw, our victor. Marcel Chinchik second, with Luke Bennett in third. Joshua Rogers in fourth, with Darren McCormack in fifth. Jeffrey Rietveld currently still holds on to P6 in this affair. So certainly the 1 second could yet be debated. Dane Warren in seventh, just barely missing out here at this point as well, with Erhan Yuyovsky, Thomas Tatler, Robbie Stapleford, Ryan Barneveld. It looks so promising after qualifying. Unfortunately, down in 11th after the incident, with Jakub Brzezinski in last place. We got to talk about Erhan Yuyovsky as well, haven't we, Lewis? Because that was a heroic drive, just could not quite get into the top 6.
Yeah, I do want to just say, by the way, very quickly, that these are provisional results, and I do believe that the Rietveld penalty will be added after this, because it wasn't done in-game like we've seen with other penalties, so that should be added, and then he should drop bound. But we'll wait for confirmation from race control on that one. To go back to your point, Erhan, honestly, very impressive. None of us predicted him to go through. Unfortunately, we were all right on that one, but he really showed his fighting spirit. He's got the speed to go through, no one has any doubt of that, but he's had a couple of technical problems, and then the slowdown penalty that he got in qualifying. We said before, if there's one part of this event that you need to nail, it is qualifying, and unfortunately just messed up in that bit, and I wonder how many we're going to see in semi-final 2 do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, talking about messes, I mean, obviously, unfortunately for Dane Warren, it looked like he could have done it a lot simpler. I mean, obviously, we're still yet to find out as to whether he's gone through or not. Obviously, we'll have to wait from the race director, as you so rightly alluded to. But obviously, he could have gone through without necessarily a hitch, because obviously that incident heading over the crest, it certainly did damage his prospects. Just got caught up there onto the tight inside, onto the grass. The car was in the air, and naturally it set him back a little bit. Do you think he'll be a little disappointed in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it's a silly mistake to make. He knows that. Like, that's not me just trying to fire shots at him. He knows that was a silly mistake to make. First lap is quite easy to do so, though. When you're directly behind the car, your turning point and all that's kind of a little bit out. You're also pushing a little bit hard. You get a little bit of a wash from the dirty air. It's exactly what happened. Warren went out wide, hit the curb, and he caught it awkwardly. You can't really predict that. Just caught the curb awkwardly, and it fired the car off to the right. I don't fully know what happened there, and I'm sure even he probably won't. But managed to get it back on the road. I think the most important thing and the most impressive thing is that he didn't lose his head. And maybe last season, at the start of the spring season, maybe we would have seen Dane Warren losing his head. He kept himself calm and just got on with it, and that's great to see.
Yeah, great to see that venom to bring it back. We can actually take a look at some highlights as well from Dane Warren from the race, and so we'll take you through some of those major moments that occurred. And as we take a look, this was it. And yeah, I mean, he was very lucky not to make serious contact with the wall, which would have sent him out. But he also was responsible for some of the most stunning overtakes we have seen as well already in this championship. And this one was on Jakub Brzezinski, as well as he was hunting his way around. Obviously, it was a very uncomfortable ride for Dane Warren, but he pushed the uncomfortable nature right onto Jakub Brzezinski with this one. Just stellar wheel-to-wheel racing through a very tight portion of the circuit at the slalom, and managed to keep the Porsche pointed forward, found the deadly overtake as well, heading through the S's, and really did pull off an astounding move. And credit to him for that, because like you say, could have so easily lost his head, but he kept composed and was able to manufacture moves such as that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like with those kind of moves, especially when red mists come over, it's so easy to go through turn 2 and 3 and then just open the steering up and send them off the roads like what we see in Formula 1 all the time. Just send them straight down the escape road. There is a little bit, that's where the club course goes down there, but he kept himself cool, kept a clean move on, and I think again we should all sit back and just say thank you so much to Jakub Brzezinski and to Dane Warren to have put on that little show there, that move. That is unbelievably difficult to do, but they showed the entire grid that you can go side by side through that, and that is how it's done. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, well, we've got Dane Warren with us, incidentally, so we will have a little chat to him. Obviously, a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde performance, Dane. It certainly was interesting, but great to see you. Nonetheless, you had a bit of a moment out on track, which ended up forfeiting the top 6 position, but you fought back, and you've given yourself a great chance of going through with the penalty that could yet be applied to Rietveld.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, after that first lap, everything went to the worst. I think I ended up P10 or something by the end of the first lap. So I was fully expecting to have an early night tonight, to be honest. So yeah, to make up all those positions, unfortunately, Jeffrey, as you said, got a penalty, which gives us the P6. Cool. Wasn't expecting it to make this far this weekend, to be honest. So anything going forward is a plus.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's going to be certainly a successful visit for you guys. Obviously, already having Joshua Rogers in the top 6 as well. Great for Porsche Coanda, should that come off. Obviously, the move as well on Jakub Brzezinski was special. Can you just talk us through that? Because, I mean, Road Atlanta, especially that section through the S's, it's not usually recommended to go side by side, but you made it work.
Yeah, for sure. The move into turn 3 was a bit, I guess, sus. I don't think I was that far up, but I managed to brake just super late. He was very nice, I will say, on the outside to give me that room down to turn 4, because, again, I was just expecting to have a massive shunt. But yeah, made it through clean, and that pretty much set up the rest of the race to, have us keep pushing forward.
Well, I'm pleased to say that I just heard it in my ear. You have, in fact, gone through. The penalty has been attributed to Jeffrey Rietveld. So give us your thoughts after that. Instant reaction, Dane.
I get to do another race. Which means
You sound so excited.
Qualifying's hard. Yeah, happy to make it to the final again in another week. I think I heard you guys say before, consistency's been a bit up and down here and there. So to make it through to final for, I guess, the second week in a row, really good, really happy.
Well, a stellar showing from you, Dane, and credit to it was a Phoenix drive for sure, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the final later on.
Yep, thanks guys, cheers.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him, of course, but bro just wanted to go to bed. He's tired. Just let him have an early night at this point, because my predictions are not looking too hot right now, George.
Mine are looking good. It has to be said. I think, if I'm correct, Lewis McGlade worked it out that I got all 6 in that one, so I'm feeling pretty confident.
Of course you did. We need to nerf George Morgan. That's what needs to happen immediately. How did you feel about that race, though? Because credit to Dane for making that incredible comeback. Is that typically unheard of?
Well, I mean, that was a Phoenix drive, and I think this says more about Dane Warren as a driver now in comparison to where he was in the Spring Series, because we always alluded to his quali pace being sensational, and he always struggled to bring it into a race format. Today, we saw something totally different. Instead of letting the demons get in, he put them to bed and managed to unleash a real stellar run towards the end of the race, and that move on Jakub Brzezinski really proved how cool he was.
Well, I love the fact that he said that he was listening to us say that they were having an inconsistent performance and things like that. They do take note, they do listen sometimes, maybe, but I am super excited to see all of these teams and drivers perform at the major because it's going to be intense, it's going to be chaotic. So if you want to be there and be in with a shot of winning some tickets to attend a DreamHack, go ahead and type !survey in the chat. Let us know how you're feeling with ESL R1. You enjoying the show? If you've got any kind of pointers, improvements, you name it, we are all ears. And yeah, we've also got some hoodies to give away too, which is always nice. I know everybody loves freebies, but I also know that everybody loves to get all of the inside information, all of the intel, not only from us, but also our fantastic drivers as well. So Eamon Murphy, get yourself over here on this broadcast. If you are not wearing that pink headset, I'm going to be, where's the pink headset?
I actually don't even know where it is. I think I've left it somewhere and I just put this one on.
Eamon, I'm disappointed to say the very least, bro, but you know what? I digress. Talk to me. How have you been enjoying Road Atlanta so far?
It's not a bad track. It certainly rattles the fillings out of your teeth. It's a bit bumpy. And it's a bit RNG with turn 2 and turn 5, but yeah, it's not too bad. Only really one overtaking opportunity, unless someone makes a big mistake, which you've seen in the last one with Dane Warren, like sanding it everywhere. But yeah, it's not too bad. I'm looking forward to the next track.
All right, and how are the team feeling in regards to, new track as well? Is everybody feeling comfortable, confident?
I think everyone's looking pretty quick. A race, we're probably about 1 to 2 seconds off in total race time compared to like the Porsche and the AMG. But quali pace looks pretty good. So as long as we can hold on to the end of the race, then it's shouldn't be too bad.
Now, tell me what the team approach is here, and I want the truth coming out from you now. Is the team championship for you all more important than the major at this point?
It'd be nice to get to the major. I might have to do that exclamation mark survey and get myself some tickets at this point.
I love that.
But yeah, team championship at this stage, but I would like to get to the major. But here, look, there's still a round to go. Big points in one round make a big difference, so try my best.
And for you personally, what would you say has been the hardest thing compared to last season and now? Has it been a bit of a grind for you, finding it easier, more difficult? What's the vibe?
To be honest with you, I actually feel quicker than I did last season. But I don't know, just going from practice to quali, one shots just hasn't worked out at all. Worked out at one race, and the rest has just been needless to say, a bit of a disaster. It's probably the worst season of racing I've ever had, honestly. But you can only go back up from here, you can't get any worse.
I was going to say, the only way is up from this point, but out of the 7 rounds that we've had so far, you've been knocked out in 6 of them in the quarterfinals, and the 7th one, you nearly got a podium. Does this mean that you maybe have cracked the code? I spoke to Seb, obviously, a few months ago, and he said, I've discovered something. It's a secret, but I might share it with my team. Have you cracked the code? Is there something going on that we don't know about?
No codes here. If there was a code, I would be through every week. So if I had that code, I'd be happy.
What do you think your likelihood is to make it into the top 24? Because obviously you're just on the cusp. Are you feeling confident that you can do it? Is there a specific approach in regards to your scheduling or anything like that to ensure that we will be seeing you in Sweden in the top 24?
Just going to put in a blinding effort and hope for a little bit of luck here and there. But if the pace is there, if I do the quali laps, the one shots are trying to do it all in one lap. Like my lap yesterday was like nearly half a second off my PB. Just got in and the car was understeering all over the place. I don't know what was going on, but look, there's no reason that I couldn't do it, you know. Like, I've felt the paces there all season. I just haven't been able to extract at the time. So, you know, another round like Hockenheim, you know, 40, 50 points and catapulted straight into the top 24, you know.
Right, Eamon, this is your moment, so please do not disappoint me. I want you to instill fear in all of these drivers. I want your best fighting talk. Give me your spiel, your speech about the fact that you are most definitely going to be making it to the top 24.
I wasn't ready for this. How do I do all this without swearing? If I wouldn't even do it in like an angry way. I'll just be like, if everyone could just, like, you know, Moses parting the waters, just move to the sides of the track, and I'll just go through.
Eamon, I think you are the least intimidating person I have ever met, but I sincerely hope that we do see you make it through to Sweden. Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem. Pleasure again.
I'm still so sad he didn't have the pink headset, but you know what? It's always a pleasure chatting with Eamon Murphy. I'll tell you one thing that I didn't like, though. He said, I'm hoping for luck. That doesn't fill me with much confidence.
Well, he's going to need luck if he wants to win the tickets on the survey, it has to be said. But nevertheless, I think obviously Eamon Murphy needs to try and dig it back in. And I think it's quite telling. He obviously did say that, you know, his form has probably been the worst that he's seen it in his racing career, which, you know, I think looking at the stats, he's probably not far wrong. His last actual visit in semi-final competition was back at Hockenheimring, where he garnered actually his only podium to date, and which is certainly not ideal, and needs to try and garner something, because it has been an uncomfortable ride. It's been a teeth-rattling season for him, to use a phrase that he obviously plucked out there.
Honestly, it completely threw me off. I was not expecting that. But Lewis, go ahead, get yourself in here, because we still have so much more racing to go. Knockouts 3 and 4. What can you tell us about them?
Well, I've got my my notebook. I've gone through the stats, the numbers. Obviously, this is where we saw the fastest lap time. Don't start this. It's cute. It fits in my back pocket. Don't you get in there, George. Get out of here. Obviously, for this one, you know, amazing lap time from Sebastian Joe, and a well-deserved victory from him. But he was chased down towards the line by Jamie Fluke, who started setting some great lap times late on. Bonner House working his way through. Yuri Kasdorps, whose girlfriend is now a massive fan of my streams. Just saying, throwing that one out there. Thank you. Johan Harth, and this is the stat that amazes me the most. Johan Harth took his first win in ESL R1. He hasn't won yet, apart from until yesterday. So congratulations to Johan. Of course, Moritz Lerner, birthday boy, down there in 6th position. And the driver that we were all kind of talking about maybe being below the cut line, having to work to get in, James Baldwin up there on the podium, looking strong for Mercedes.
Well, one thing is for certain, fellas. Road Atlanta has certainly delivered a lot of chaos, to say the very least, but you ultimately can't afford to get caught up in all of that chaos with all of the penalty points that our drivers have been garnering for themselves as well. So, George, what do you think Thibaut Casabon's approach is going to be heading into this race? Is it going to be playing it a little bit more safe?
Well, just to give some feedback, I think, to the viewers, obviously 15 points, or should I say penalty points, not 15 racing points. Obviously, I'm sure that many drivers would like to plumb for them, but these are points that they don't want here, because obviously 3 points away, Thibaut Casabon, from getting a qualifying ban. Now, remember, Max Benneker, who was knocked out yesterday, obviously was banned from qualifying because he'd achieved 15 of the penalty points, and that is certainly the Casabon does not need. Obviously, given the fact that he is right on the cusp, or certainly he's in the danger point, I should say, of not getting through to Sweden, so he needs to try and have a controlled drive, I think. So close, and obviously it could devastatingly impact his championship, not just his championship, R8G's as well.
I think on that note, we should go ahead and visit all of our drivers for semi-final number 2. Talk to me, bro. How are we feeling about this lineup? Are you feeling confident in Yuri Kasdorp's ability to bring it back?
Well, I tell you what, he has the ability. I know he's questioned himself time and time again. He did put some heartfelt posts out on social media as to how much he has struggled, but obviously working his way back into semi-final equation is very good. And Mouse are looking very well stacked because they've got 2 drivers in it, with Moritz Lerner also in the mix. Thibaut Casubon also making up a 2-part RHG companionship. Obviously, we saw that in semi-final 1. It's back again in semi-final 2. But Sebastian Job is the story. What a driver this young man is, and I regularly tout that he's the best in the world, and he's currently confirming that now by leading this championship in such devastating fashion. If you want a number, folks, he's won 9 races over the course of this winter series, and no one can touch that.
Certainly a very impressive performance from him. But you did mention the Mouse boys, and I'm hoping they might be able to get some birthday luck on their side, because it is indeed none other than Moritz Lerner's birthday today. So join us in wishing him a very happy birthday. And obviously, he's on the grind. He broke a bit of a sweat yesterday, and it was incredibly intense for him preparing it ahead of today's race. Do you think that's down to physically demanding racing or just nerves?
Well, I can empathise with that. 131 beats per minute is probably the levels that me and Lewis McGlay get to in the commentary box as well when we're shouting out some of the stuff about some of these drivers. But yeah, I mean, Moritz Lerner, the sweating that has been involved in trying to get these drivers up to the point, of course, they've had such a very short space of time to prepare for Road Atlanta, so the intensity and the levels that they have gone to try and make sure that they are ready to race tonight is obviously at another level, and Moritz Lerner is no exception, of course. Just that in itself graphically displays how much these drivers work to be here, and just goes to show how imperative it is for a great result in the ESL R1.
Well, ultimately, yes, you need to have fantastic drivers, but how much of it really comes down to the nominations of our teams and our drivers as well?
Well, absolutely spot on. I think we've seen that being a very decisive factor, I think, through the course of this championship. Obviously, team managers work together with their drivers in order to strategically position themselves in a way where they can maximise their performance. And look at this graphic. If you take a look at the averages itself, 22.9 in Knockout 4. And that is vastly different in comparison to the 19.6 we're seeing in Knockout 2. So when you look at drivers such as Thibaut Casubon, who has appeared 7 out of the 7 times in Knockout 4, now that is obviously a strategic method by the likes of Mehdi, who is the team boss at RHG, to position probably, should we say, a driver that isn't necessarily as strong as the likes of Yuri Tomans, Yuyovskis and Marcel Chinchiks. So it gives Casubon a chance to challenge. Of course, it's registered here as the weakest group, but it does give Casubon a chance to impress.
Well, we've spoken about Casubon and how close he is in garnering those penalties. The real question is, how do you think he's going to perform against opposition with the likes of James Baldwin?
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a tough fight for him. Obviously, we can look at the head-to-heads now. Total points, though, Casubon does lead against James Baldwin, 114 against 103, but the top 6 is very, very differently. Of course, Casubon came into the championship at a very late time. Obviously, remember, Risto Capit was driving for RHG not too long ago, but 8 top 6s, 2 podiums. But look at Baldwin, the world's fastest gamer, they call him. He still wears that accolade proudly. 25 top 6s and 16 podiums. He is certainly the Mercedes golden boy, and he needs to try and bring his best again because he's had some tough times of late.
Well, Lewis, I got to be honest with you. There's been some drivers that have been a little bit underwhelming thus far, namely Enzo Benito, just to throw one name into the mix, to be quite honest with you. The real question is, though, him being out of the top 24 right now alongside some other drivers like Yuri Kasdorp, what is the game plan here? Who do you think has the better advantage to actually make it into that top 24?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I agree. It feels harsh to say, but I agree with you about Enzo Benito. He's been a bit disappointing this season. We've not seen that great form that we expect from him. Things just haven't gone his way, whether that's through luck or whatnot. I mean, you can see him here on the right-hand side, 33rd in our standings, quite a long way below the cut-off point. The highest of those that are still in the competition that are below the cut-off point, Yuri Kasdorp. Obviously, we've said before about, if you want to get inside that top 24, well, you've got to bump a couple of people outside of that top 24. Maybe Thibaut Casubon and James Baldwin are feeling that pressure from those two behind. It's just about, getting into the top 6, getting into the next race. And that's in the knockout phase, that's in the semi-finals for both of these drivers, because the more races you do, the more points you can potentially score. That is so important to them. And, sometimes they've tried going after a bit too much glory, maybe, and then dropped it down the escape road.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I want to hear from the drivers themselves. I want to hear about what the game plan is for the entire side of Mouse. So let's go ahead and find out from Yuri.
Today we're racing at Road Atlanta. new track for us in Rennsport. Always excited to have a new track. I think we needed some bit of a change up, change of pace a bit, and the track's really awesome. I think for us in the Audi with Mouse, it's a bit rough in qualifying. Maybe you don't have the perfect outright pace, and the car's not maybe as consistent over the bumps as some other cars. But once we get to the race, I think the car's pretty strong. We have pretty decent top speed, and the tires seem to hang on quite well. So in the race, we should be a bit stronger than qualifying, so look for us to maybe make up a few positions in the races. For the Teams Championship, we've got everything to gain, nothing to lose. We're really close to the whole group, which is up to like P2, probably P3, to where we are. And the same really goes for the Drivers' Championship. Had a really rough start to the season. I'm getting back to where I think I should be a bit more now. But that does mean that I really need to send it to like secure my spot for the major, because I'm just under the knockoff zone. But with a couple of good results, maybe today, maybe next week, I should be able to make it in to the major in Sweden.
I love that. Generally very positive atmosphere and words from Yuri, but I don't know, can he do it, can he not do it? What I do know though is that I am ready to make my prediction in the hat before either of you manage to do so. Sebastian Job, that one's mine. GG, well played. You next, Lewis.
I am going to go with a driver who was catching him down towards the end of the race. I'm going to go Jamie Fluke on this one. I think he's got the pace to do it. Maybe back up from what his teammate did in semi-final one.
God, do you know what? I was actually thinking of Jamie Fluke, you know, after that performance. And obviously, it would have been a double ART job. So thank you for that, Lewis McGlade. But hey, I'm going to go with our last round's winner. Let's go Kevin Siggy. Mustachio back in form. And Team Redline, I think, will be chasing bigger plaudits this time.
Well, let's go ahead and find out whether or not Mustachio can actually do it.
Well, we will see. We will see. At the moment, I'm going to just give you a quick update on our predictions because it's fun, isn't it? Obviously, we've predicted the 6 drivers from the previous ones. George has got 6 out of 6. It's infuriated me. I hate it. I'm on 5 out of 6. Jazz is on 4 out of 6. All right? So that's where we're at the moment.
Issue,
although I will
Skill
say,
issue.
looking at the predictions that we've got for semi-final 2, they're all over the place. And the reason why I say that is because this is so open. The fact that, you know, obviously you're coming in from that weaker, potentially weaker knockout 4. George, this is probably the, you know, one of the more open semi-finals we get. Like, it's just crazy. Any one of these 12 can absolutely get through.
Well, I think what we learned from the knockouts was that anything can really happen. And obviously, we lost the likes of Max Benneker and, you know, drivers such as that. But obviously, there was that qualifying ban that did obviously was cause and effect, really, in that state. But obviously, looking at some of these drivers that certainly have the promise. I mean, Sebastian Job is without a doubt one of the highest ranking, one of the lead protagonists, I would say, at this point, and definitely one to watch. But I'm going to throw it to you for this one because this is obviously a young man that has the ability to perform. Jamie Fluke, in his own right, already a race winner, but finishing second in quarterfinal 3 was certainly special, and behind Sebastian Job as well.
Yeah, indeed. Jamie Fluke was affected a little by last round's result, and so his phone went and met the floor. F. That is an F. That is F. No, I think, you know, there's been a few frustrations in the Apex Racing Team camp this year, this season, mostly because they know they've got the speed, and they are showing it here at Road Atlanta. Kevin Ellis Jr., unbelievable performance. 2 Apex Racing Team drivers in this as well, with Johan Harth coming a bit later on. The second fastest lap yesterday was in the hands of Jamie Fluke. It was a .939. At the moment, the first sector is one corner, right? We can't really look into it too much. But a 9.6, that's fine. That's exactly where they should be in that first sector. The second sector is 2 tenths at the moment off, but the Merc is okay in the final sector. It's not quite as strong as the Porsche in the final sector, but it does get a bit of a slower drive off the chicane. We'll see what Jamie Fluke will do across the line, the first of our contenders here in semi-final 2 qualifying. I think this is going to be a low 17.0, something in that kind of vein, as he crosses the line. 17.01. I can tell you for free that ain't going to be pole.
No, I'm sure it won't be. Johan Harth, though, his teammate and counterpart, race winner yesterday in quarterfinal 4. Is he going to break the spell? That, of course, was Jamie Fluke's run. Obviously, after taking second, it was really a good day yesterday for ART Mercedes, as they now look to rise their way through now once again. Johan Harth now dipping down the elevation here certainly paramount here at Road Atlanta as he now makes his way down through now, and frustration ebbing into Johan Harth, who is now nearly 2/10 off the pace of his own teammate.
So someone who's going to be further off than that. Look at how calm, disappointed, dejected, bored Bonnehaus is. He knows that this lap at the moment is going to send him straight to the back of the field. The red check next to his name on the tower there, on the right-hand side of the tower, on the left-hand side of your screen. He's had a slowdown in this qualifying session, and so he will be starting from the rear. He'll come through the final corner. Jamie Fluke will remain in pole position, cam in the bottom right. Bonnehaus across the line, 1.4 off of pole.
Yeah, suddenly Jamie Fluke, I think, is looking a little more content. We're now going to see Kevin Siggy, though, the winner from our last round. He's got a smile on his face. That's something you don't see very often. 9.6 in the first sector. He has every reason to smile, but sector 2 is not looking too great. 40.2 already, so 4/10 outside of where he perhaps might need it to be as he now makes his way down the hill this time around. Can he recover something here in this final sector? Needs to usher in something massive, but does go second fastest. That's a stellar final sector from Kevin Siggy, and the first one wasn't bad either.
I don't understand how he's done that, if I'm perfectly honest. That middle sector was terrible. I know the BMW struggles a little bit in the middle, but yeah, that was wild. Here comes Isaac Price. The middle sector for him's looking pretty average, but again, if he nails the final sector like Kevin Siggy did, maybe it's going to be right up there. Isaac Price for G2 Esports. Big news behind the scenes between the G2 Esports Red Bull and Redline camp. We'll discuss that ad nauseum later on. Isaac Price comes through the final sector and goes to second.
Incredible time there as well, only 29 thousandths off the top. Jamie Fluke still leading the way though, and I think obviously feeling more and more comfortable as time goes on. Yuri Kazdap has already shaken his head. 9.6 in the first sector is okay, but a 40.3, very similar to what we saw from Kevin Siggy. In fact, worse than what we saw from Kevin Siggy earlier on. Nearly 5/10 out the window of where he would need to be to plant this car up at the top end, but can he dig deep and find something here from the Audi in the final sector? Now deep dives down the hill, takes an aggressive line on the inside, takes all the curb as well, but only enough for 5th fastest and over nearly 2.5 tenths off the pace.
Yuri Toman will be the next driver to come through, obviously looking to progress his way. Yesterday finished on the podium. Yuri Toman is the only driver to have appeared in every single race of the season. 19 for 19. I mean, he is a great shout to go through and move further on in this competition. We'll see what he can do across the line as he's trying to progress his way in the session. A whopping 1,000th of a second. Wow. Good day, sir.
That is absolutely splendid, but certainly Jamie Fluke holds the lead advantage at this point. He's still looking comfortable, but breathes a sigh as now Enzo Benito stretches through a 9.7. That's not the best we've seen in Sector 1. Sector 2, though, 40.0. That's better than many, as we now see him make his way down the hill, but a shake of his head again. And Benito now starting to struggle, I think. Maybe the third sector isn't as good as projected. Makes his way across the line, only 4th fastest, but higher than his teammate Kevin Siggy.
Incredibly close, though, in that sector. We've got Thibaut Casamon coming through turn 7. I get the feeling that we might have missed someone in the sessions because this is quite far back than where we'd expect. But either way, Thibaut Casamon is on the road. We'll see what he can do in this session. Not one of my picks to move through, but you know, he's certainly a driver that has got the pace to do so. R8G with a couple of struggles. They've lost Erhan Yovsky already today. He'll come down to that final sector. First sector, he's lost quite a bit of time. The Audi maybe not hooking up that first corner as we see from the other teams. Thibaut Casamon will come across the line. I'm pretty sure Sebi Job behind him, not too far behind. Casamon to the line. What's he going to set? Is he going to get in that mix? He's within a 10th of pole. I think that's going to change, though.
Well, here we are. We consider him to be the greatest at the moment. 9.6 in the first sector is definitely a good indicator, and a 39.8 is blistering in sector 2. Here comes Sebastian Job. He's going to knock off Jamie Fluke surely after a blistering third sector. He will as well, and plus 0.2 of a second faster than Jamie Fluke. Sebastian Job is back, and he could yet add another win to his locker. Could he make it 10?
Yeah, I mean, that looks incredible. It's still slower than it went yesterday. I'm promised a 0.6 from the from Sebastian Job. So if you can get up, obviously the fastest lap of the day so far. James Baldwin into the final sector. Decent first sector. We don't know what his second sector is. The driver that finished second yesterday has got 2/10 to slot in to get onto that front row, and I think he might be able to do it. He goes into 4th position and slots some of the tiniest gaps between Toman and Price.
That's not a bad result for James Baldwin. I think after the struggles they have had, I think he'll take P4 all day long, and the race will be, I'm sure, another opportunity for him. Moritz Lerner, though, last but certainly not least, a 9.6 in the first sector is stellar, but the 40.1 doesn't look too good in the second sector. We saw how much work he has applied here at this track, the Road Atlanta. It is so vibrant. It's a teeth rattler, as we heard as well. A shout from Moritz Lerner as he looks to try and extract everything he can. So aggressive across the line, but not enough to go above P10, and he is off the pace.
Indeed. Let's take a look down at the starting grid for semi-final two, courtesy our partners in VRS. Only the one driver getting a slowdown penalty in that qualifying session. It was Bonnerhaus will start from 12th place. 11th will be Yuri Kasdorp. 10th place will be the birthday boy himself. Johan Half, after a win yesterday, will start this one from 9th before we get to Thibaut Casbon and Kevin Siggy finishing just outside of the top 6 in that qualifying session. Enzo Benito looking to get through into a final. One of the few that he's had this season, with Isaac Price inside that top 5 as well. Then we get James Baldwin, Yuri Toman, and of course Jamie Fluke, who's looking pretty fast, but faster than them all, going slightly slower than yesterday. It was a 7.38 yesterday. It's a 7.98 today. It is G2 Sebi on pole position here at Road Atlanta. Once again, an amazing lap time from him. Has he got the pacing in to set a 10th victory of the season? I think the answer to that question is absolutely. He is looking rapid, maybe looking to take the clean sweep here at Road Atlanta. Very impressive. Very impressive, George. Just calm and collected.
I mean, I'm running out of superlatives, I'm running out of adjectives and all those kinds of words here for Sebastian Job. I mean, what a talent. It has to be said, a stellar lap there in qualifying, pulling it off, a clutch performance again, 0.2 of a second at least faster than Jamie Fluke. But I tell you what, credit to Jamie Fluke, front row of the grid. A huge chance here for Apex Racing Team. They could yet go 2 wins from 2 in the semi-final.
Look, you'll see that 0.2 margin and you'll think, well, Seb's going to win the race. Like, surely he's going to win the race, because that's 0.2 in qualifying. You know, fair enough. Trust me, yesterday, guess how many tenths of a second behind Jamie Fluke was than Seb in qualifying? Yeah, it was 0.2 of a second. And trust me, he was giving him a good challenge towards the end of the race. There is going to be a proper race and a proper ding-dong for this one. We'll have to wait and see. There is a look over Isaac Price. We just saw Moritz Lerner. And trust me, in those qualifying sessions, everyone's kind of saying about you know, the heart rate that we saw from Moritz Lerner. That wasn't down to the physical nature of driving. That was down to the pressure and the level of concentration required. That's what sends the heartbeat up. Though in practice, their heart rate's probably set around about 80 to 90. In qualifying, they will almost certainly get into the 130s, 140s, and during the race, sometimes even higher than that. And it is only down to the concentration that they are required to hit. They cannot make a single mistake.
Yeah, James Baldwin there. Obviously, it's a nail-biter here at Road Atlanta. And though he does look composed, I can tell you that's not what they're going to be feeling inside. I tell you what, every result counts. And Johan Half as well, who was certainly stellar yesterday, will be looking to try and march in at least some sort of gargantuan performance here. There's Mustachio, Kevin Siggy, winner of our last round back at Spa-Francorchamps, and looking in good vein as well. Bono House, who's had a little bit of a tricky time. I mean, it's been a real struggle for Mercedes across the board here, Lewis. And Bono's got to try and extract something from this one.
No, but thankfully, you know, for them, you know, James Baldwin's starting to look a little bit stronger, so they might have a couple of drivers going through to Sweden. There's Yuri Toman looking to try and progress through to every single race this season. That would be very impressive. Obviously, we are here in the 20th one. He would very much dearly like the 21st, with the final coming up after this. But of course, we've got to deal with the semi-finals first. It's Sebastian Job on that pole position. It's Jamie Fluke alongside on the front row, and it is that short 300-odd metre run down towards that first corner. What can Sebi do as we launch our way to find our next Styx finalist? Great start from Yuri Toman to look straight down the inside going into that first corner, but it's been a perfect launch from our pole sitter, Sebastian Job. We head up towards turn 2 and 3. Jamie Fluke sat all over the rear end as we now begin this massive drop down through T4 and the S is up towards turn 5. It couldn't have gone much better for Sebi.
No, it couldn't have gone much better whatsoever, and looking so dialed in as well at this stage. Isaac Price as well in the midst of a fight of his own. We've got plenty of drivers here looking to try and muster in something. There's Price now, bottom left of your screen as we're seeing from his driver cam, but the Brit is going to look to try and hug on the back of fellow Brit James Baldwin, of course, currently sat in 4th place. The gap now just outside of 2.5 tenths of a second, goes out to 3 tenths. They now pirouette through this next right-hander. Still Job out in front, 4 tenths now the gap as he looks to apply his trade once again around the Road Atlanta circuit. Fast pace, Bono House at the back, but very close to Yuri Kasdorp in front of him there. 2 tenths of a second separating that pair, and Kevin Siggy as well, right on the cusp as well. You've got 2 red line cars, 6th and 7th, and only one of them will be going through as we see a move down the inside from the mouse of Moritz Lerner.
Yeah, trying to get past from half. You've got Bonohouse and Yuri Kasdorp, the 2 Dutchmen going side by side in the rear of the field. Yuri Kasdorp dropped down to 12th place. Honestly, though, Kasdorp is showing some good speed and good consistency into the second half of the season. He is definitely an outside chance to work his way through into Sweden. You can see there in the bottom left, he is 27th in the standings. He is close to bumping someone out. He just needs to pick together a couple of decent races. I mean, if he were to go through into a final today, then I'm pretty sure it's almost guaranteed, but you know, we'll have to wait and see for Yuri Kasdorp. Might have to wait though until next week before we end the season. You can see at the bottom of our screen, Sebastian Job on the right-hand side, Jamie Fluke in the middle, and then Yuri Toman on the left. Those 3 at the bottom. That is the top 3 in the race right now. And notice how after a lap, Sebastian Job, despite that qualifying advantage, is not exactly checked out yet, George.
No, he hasn't. The gap is only 5 tenths of a second, though he does have the fastest lap of the race so far, as you'd expect. We're only on lap 2 of 12, though, however, plenty more to come. As we now see them come over the crest once again and down the hill. Of course, they've got a back straight around this circuit, which obviously does carry some elevation change. Obviously, you reach the precipice coming out of turn 7, and then you drop down once again before you then venture your way through the chicane, as these drivers are now taking. Now, there's Price, having a really good start to his race so far, still on the back of James Baldwin, as the 2 Brits now cascade through turns 11 and turns 12. They'll begin yet another lap, and there's Kevin Siggy, and he'll be hoping for some upside here for the Red Line team. And they're going to ask questions of Benito here, Lewis, because whilst obviously, you know, Kevin Siggy could overtake his teammate to gain P6 and take it away from another Red Line car, they would much rather see both cars rise up in tandem. So are they going to be asking questions of Benito here?
I mean, yeah, this is the whole thing of like, is that, you know, I don't think there'll be too many team orders. Well, we can ask Andre Kutchman a little bit later on as to what the dealio is behind the scenes right now. But it's so awkward when you've got 2 drivers on the cusp. At the moment, one's going through, one's not. The most important thing is at least one of them goes through. So, you know, if you're going to let them, you know, say that they're free to race, then it's very important for Kevin Siggy, if he's going to go for a move that is a clean move, and that they both still remain at least with one of them inside the points. But you know, right now, you're kind of weighing it up. This is where it becomes difficult. Kevin Siggy is arguably, between the 2 of them, is the one that's most likely to take a round win, as he already has done earlier on in the season. But Endo Benito is the one that needs the points more. Which way do you lean? It is almost impossible to figure out, and that is why we are so glad that we're not a part of these teams. You know, we're not team manager or anything like that, because honestly, that job is so stressful to figure out what is going to happen between your drivers. Even for the drivers, it's not as stressful, because it's just like, well, we're just going to race until the cows come over. We're going to race until we see the checkered flag and just keep going.
Well, the deeper we head into the championship with only 2 rounds to go, obviously the intensity starts to rise. The tensions start to rise as well. Kevin Siggy looking so composed in the bottom left of your screen. Kazjabon obviously chasing a big result here. He comes into this one 18th place in the championship after the knockout stages. That, of course, will be confirmed towards the end of tonight's event, as we now wait and see. Of course, Kazjabon, currently as it stands, is going through to Sweden, but obviously with the gaps being so minute in between P's 18 down to 24, and then onwards, downwards, of course, Yuri Kasdorp as well, part of this race, currently sitting 27th in the championship and looking to try and rise his way up, and the fine margins that separate them, just look at them all. The gaps between everyone in the 12 drivers that we have out on track right now, all within a second of each other, most of them all within half a second, as they now make their way up the hill again. And down the crest still, it is still Job out in front, still no one breaking the chain. Kazjabon, though, looking threatening right on the tail of Kevin Siggy. So the pressure cooker is going to start to rise soon enough. We're only on lap 4 of 12, not even at the halfway point, so opportunities in an abundance for every driver here on this grid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were talking to Eamon Murphy earlier on. I mean, he was saying about how the BMW over the race time is technically maybe it's a little bit slower than what we see from the Mercs and from the Audis and the Porsches. Now, whilst that might well be true, the thing is the qualifying pace and the early speed from the car is incredibly fast. It's what we're seeing from Sebastian Job here at the moment. The fact that he's building that gap up to a second. I do not think he will finish with a second advantage. I do believe that gap will come down. Jamie Fluke will have an opportunity in this, and I think he is well aware of this. Fluke is well versed at endurance racing and being patient even in sprint races, even racing against Sebastian Job. He knows how to do it, and he'll just be piecing this race one lap at a time. 12 laps isn't a very long period of time, but it still almost feels like an eternity when you're out on the racetrack. You've got a lot of time and space to work with.
Yeah, certainly do. Johan Harth, though, is trying to close that space in between him and Thibaut Casibon, as we're now seeing the gap now filtered downwards, very nearly touching 2.5 tenths of a second. Impressive showing from Johan Harth, though I will say this, we'll be looking to try and match what he did in quarter-final action yesterday. We won't do that, at least for now. Remember, of course, he won the race in yesterday's quarter-final 3, as he now looks to try and plumb his way through. In fact, it was quarter-final 4 that, of course, he went on to take victory, as he now heads down the hill now, through towards the final 2 corners and then back down the long straight before taking turn 1 again. Sebastian Job now started to add to the delta. It's now 7 tenths of a second between himself and Jamie Fluke, who I'm sure is quite happy just to retain the position. And as you can see, equilateral between Fluke and Job and Fluke and Toman. It is equilateral. They are literally in no man's land near enough, and James Baldwin is starting to get closer to the back of Toman as well. 4 tenths away, and he'll look to try and gain it closer as well. But Johan Harth, going back to him, doing a splendid job indeed down in 9th place. The gap now 2.5 tenths near enough.
Yeah, let's see then. Look at this gap. It is closing down. What was it? 9 tenths of a second not that long ago. Exactly what we were saying. Jamie Fluke's reeling him back in. He's having a day out fishing on the circuit. And what's he caught? Well, it's the big bad G2 Sebi, and he is closing in right now. He is absolutely going to have a chance at going for a victory here. Fluke's already had one or two before. Would desperately like to see him taking top honours once more. Back into the slipstream he goes. It's not going to be this lap. It might not even be next lap, but there are opportunities abound for Jamie Fluke to sneak one around.
Yeah, certainly is. Race winner, remember, back in the semi-final at Nürburgring in round 4. Jamie Fluke knows how to win races. Since then has taken 2 podiums. There's been an upward trajectory of sorts at Apex Racing Team, and Jamie Fluke has been at the heart of it. Right on the tail now, Sebastian Job, and the gap as close as it's ever been throughout this race since we started. Remember, it was Job who careered away at the very beginning, and look at the gap between Toman and Fluke. It's starting to advance. Fluke on the attack here in lap 7 of 12. Perhaps smells danger. The tyres feeling good. The car's feeling good. The Merc singing here around Road Atlanta.
Certainly so, and obviously looking down the order where a couple of other beamers are going to come under a bit of pressure over that cut-off line. You've got Isaac Price, Enzo Benito, Kevin Siggy, all BMWs. They might be feeling the pressure as well from Thibaut Casibon and Johan Harth. Look at that gap between Thibaut Casibon and Johan Harth as well, by the way. A tenth and a bit. That is under 2 tenths. That is right on the rear end. Like, that is British touring car gap right there, mid-race stuff. So there could well be some moves further down for Johan Harth. On the bottom right, you're screaming riding on board with Jamie Fluke as he's going to try and close in on Sebastian Job. He's going to have an opportunity here, but the straight line speed and the good drive off the corner did seem to work in favour of G2. Sebastian Job's going to be able to hang on. There must be no mistakes from Jamie Fluke here. At the moment, he's moving through, and there's a potential of a final victory for him up for grabs if he's going to keep showing this speed. There's no point in kind of like trying to blast down the inside for a victory in the semi-final and taking a load of risk with it and maybe sending yourself off the track.
Yeah, little love tap from Bono Huis on the back of Yuri Kasdorf as Kasdorf made the move heading through the chicane, but Bono is certainly not going to let him rest with that one. Johan Harth as well, 3 tenths away from Thibaut Casibon. Both ART Mercedes cars looking exceptional at this stage. Fluke, though, not necessarily as close as he was on Joe, but still retains that 3.5 tenths of a second gap. It's just moving outwards, but back in again as they make their way through the Slalom S's section as they rise over the crest. Harth now back on the tail of Casibon, who has got a war on 2 fronts here, because while he's trying to tackle Kevin Siggy, Harth is now causing a complication in behind. Incidentally, Apex Racing Team, whilst they might not necessarily carry, shall we say, the same protege as we've seen from the likes of Team Redline and many of the others, RAG, they have been constant improvers, and they are actually statistically in a very good place because they've had 3 drivers take race wins this season, and they join a very collective group with the likes of RAG, Redline and Porsche. They're the only teams, as well as themselves, that have taken 3 winners. Now we see a side-by-side battle now. here between the RAG of Thibaut Casibon and Kevin Siggy. Siggy now side by side into Johan Hart, who might smell an advantage here. This would be a great opportunity for the Merc to perhaps plunge on this, but Casibon showing all the credibility that he has behind the wheel, takes 7th place away. Next up, another red line car of Enzo Benito.
Yeah, but look at that. Johan Hart got slowed down by Siggy. Moritz Lerner sweeps his way around the outside, works his way into 9th position. So, you know, these lot, they're all 1.5 seconds now behind Enzo Benito. There's only 4 laps left to go. Unless that Beamer drops off rapidly, they are not going to have a chance at getting through to the top 6. Again, taking a little look over to our predictions. Thankfully, in this one, George definitely isn't getting all of them right. No one's getting all of them right in our predictions, because this is so wild and all over the place. Absolutely crazy scenes here in semi-final 2. The top 6 of the moment being Job, Fluke, Toman, Baldwin, Price, Benito. Do you know what that means? That means that we have 3 drivers from Knockout 3, 3 drivers from Knockout 4. Try telling me now that Knockout 4 is the weakest of all of them. They're showing how good they are in this field.
And while G2 Esports have been vastly one-sided in terms of only one driver really delivering the goods, Isaac Price is set to perhaps deal them a 2-car finish here in the top 6, which would be absolutely sensational for them as well. And with Thibaut Casibon effectively being the cork in the bottle between obviously P7 all the way down. Of course, he's got a huge train behind him, and he's 1.5 off Enzo Benito in P6. It's not ideal for Redline, but they still have Enzo Benito there, and he will, of course, be heading through should it stay like this. But look at this now, Kevin Siggy, hot on his tail, of course. Very imposing figure, Siggy. Of course, has brought vast success for Team Redline. And back at Spa was no less impressive. He was brilliant. Brought himself to the forefront, worked a little bit of massive magic, and Mustachio was on top. This time, though, he's got a different battle on his hands. And not only the gap between he and his teammate has spread out, but also now he's got a car in between, and that being an RAG car that is causing a few problems for them. But Casibon, well aware of the ramifications, wants to try and make sure he stays in the top 24. Well, at least garnering some extra points here in this semi-final race will help him achieve that.
Thibaut Casibon's feeling the pressure. You're absolutely right. Kevin Siggy's knocking at the door. At the moment, I'd say Kevin Siggy's done his job in the sense of fighting really hard with Casibon, and at least has almost guaranteed Enzo Benito's pathway into the final. We'll have to wait and see what the Italian can do from that scenario. Casibon is not going to get a chance to catch, because surely Siggy's going to at least look. He's going to fill the mirrors. He's going to dish out the pressure straight back down the inside. He's going to try and go, but look at that from Yuri Kazdorp, trying to get his way past Johan Hart. Big snap of oversteer from the mouse driver. Big hit on the rear end from Bonnehaus as well. Just a few laps left to go in this one. 2 at the line. Sebastian Job is still feeling the pressure at the front, as is Thibaut Casibon hitting for 7th.
Yeah, yet another love tap from Bono House coming out of the chicane as well, similar to what we saw earlier on. Casibon under pressure. That delta has gone out by 1/10 of a second, as well as it dips into the 1.6s. And Kevin Siggy giving him a little bit of a headache. Jamie Fluke, though, not done with Sebastian Job just yet. Might leave his best till last, of course. Lap 11 of 12. We're on the penultimate lap of this particular race in semi-final 2. So big questions could yet be asked by Fluke, who might be looking to take something a little bigger than second away from this race now as we rejoin the battle at the front end. There's Job in behind Fluke. Toman as well, also in the mix, has managed to regarner the delta that he lost. For James Baldwin, a return drive, shall we say, better from James Baldwin on this occasion here at Road Atlanta, and he's not out of this equation either.
Yeah, of course, Jamie Fluke did have a win earlier on in the season, took his first win in the semi-final at the Nürburgring just a few rounds ago. He would dearly love to pick up another semi-final victory here. He's got one more lap and one more opportunity to pass Semi Job. This is exactly what we were talking about, though, is that Sebastian Job has the pace over the field, but the tyres, they struggle on his car. He's pushing them so hard around this circuit, and he's feeling that pressure as we build up to the later point of the race. If we're in the final, I think someone has absolutely sent it down the inside of Sebi at this point. This is why this final is going to be a lot more open than we think it's going to be.
Well, how much BPM do you think Moritz Lerner's got underneath him now? He's got Kevin Siggy causing or becoming a thorn in his side. Johan Hart also being a thorn in the side of Siggy as they head through the slalom. The SS section lit up now with GT3 machinery as they plough their way down the hill again. Of course, the reverberation, the overwhelming roar of these cars as they make their way through the segments, the different sectors out on this circuit over the crest. Of course, the scenes of where we saw Dane Warren flying through the air earlier on, but still managed to get through at the end of the race. Now we see the cars pirouette their way through the next segment here on the final lap. Can Job check out? Can anyone check out? Will it be G2 on top here this time at Road Atlanta?
I think he's got it. I think he has got it. It's half a second as they came out of T7 onto this back stretch. They go through 8-9 down towards 10A because, again, why not? As they head their way into that chicane, there's going to be a look in the background from Enzo Benito on Isaac Price. Benito's going to try and do it straight around the outside of the chicane. He's going to go. He might have this. I think he might well do so. They hit the crest and drop down the hill at the front of the field, though, whilst it's side-by-side. Here's Semi Job's going to take the semi-final victory. Jamie Fluke behind, Toman and Baldwin. Isaac Price just about alongside with Enzo Benito, who has to settle for 6th, but the pair of them working their way through. The top 6 work their way past, and yet another victory, number 10 of the season from Sebastian Job, because he is the man to beat in the full season, and he is looking to become the 4th driver to have taken a clean sweep when it comes to races. This time, obviously, that involves taking a win in a knockout, win in a semi-final, and a win in a final as well. I say the 3rd driver. I mean, he is the 3rd driver to have done it, but become the 4th to have done so. Anyway, we'll take a look at highlights from the race, because that was a pretty interesting one, and there was a lot of pressure dished out onto the shoulders of Sebi. So we'll take a look at those highlights and see how it was that he took that victory, because he was feeling the pressure on his shoulders, George, and just pieced it together brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a result for Sebastian Job. I mean, just simply stellar, incredible. And yeah, highlights. Take us through it, Lewis.
Yeah, indeed. So from pole position after an incredible performance, it was him leading. Obviously, dramas behind. Moritz Lerner, they obviously had this Yuri Kasdorp and Butter House battle for 11th position, taking them through the final corner. Little looks from various drivers, including this one, Thibaut Casabon, right on the rear end of Kevin Siggy. This is the battle for 6th position. Enzo Benito in the number 37, just inside the top 6. His teammate just outside of it. So we were wondering what was going to happen between this grouping. Were there going to be any team orders? Was Kevin Siggy going to assist his teammate in any way? Whilst Seb was able to clear out into the distance, he was caught late on in the race and was feeling the pressure and the effects of one Mr. Jamie Fluke. This was the battle for 7th position. Kevin Siggy defending from Thibaut Casabon, who would go straight around the outside of the first part of the chicane, inside for the next part. Johan Half also involved into the mix. The position was picked up by Thibaut Casabon, but the gap was 1.5 seconds up towards 6th place. Another look down the inside from Kevin Siggy as Moritz Lerner would pick up the pieces of Johan Half going a little bit slow and being wrong-footed. Yuri Kasdorp was also trying to fight his way with Johan Half, and again it was a victory for our race winner Sebastian Job. I say he took the clean sweep earlier on in the season at Monza. He's looking for a second one. He's looking to have had it for the 4th time. We've only seen it 4 times, which is wild.
It is wild. I mean, I think Sebastian Job's 10th race win of the season is absolutely
unreal,
incredible. It's just a phenomenal feat, especially here at ESL R1, where everything is so tight. I believe we do have the provisional results ready to look at as well, so we can take a brief look at that as well and just confirm, or at least just give you a rundown as to how it looked as they crossed the line. Obviously, provisional, folks, as we said. Sebastian Job taking race victory for the 10th time in dramatic fashion. 25 points going to him. Jamie Fluke, what a performance as well. Yuri Toman in 3rd, James Baldwin in 4th place, Isaac Price making it a double G2 going through into the final, and Enzo Benito managing to scrap out and come home in 6th as well. Heartbreak, unfortunately, for Casabon, who just could not quite bring it back with Moritz Lerner, Hearth, Siggy, Kasdorp and House at the bottom end of the classification. But I believe, Lewis, we have got the man himself, Sebastian Job, standing by for an interview, so we can go across to him now. Sebastian, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, and I have to tell you, what a performance, Seb. Do you know, I call you today the greatest driver in the world. I think that's proven. I think, once again, a race win, 10th of your winter campaign. You must be elated.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Qualifying, both laps so far have been really great, so I'm really happy with that. Both within a 10th of my all-time PB, so that's all I can ask for, especially on a tricky track like this. You see, I think people doing 0.7s, 0.6s in practice, and then they'll drop a 0.0 or 0.9 in the real quali. So to do 0.7s, I'm like super pleased with. Can't ask for more than that. Not happy with the race though. Tyre wear, I'm just really struggling with this car with the tyre wear. But I don't want to be crying about it after a win. So yeah, I'm still happy, but it's frustrating to 2 races in a row pole it by 2 tenths, and then I feel like I'm one of the slowest drivers on track in the actual race. So it's very frustrating.
That is the perfectionist in you crying out, is it not? I mean, looking back at that race in itself, I suppose, I suppose understanding that, the tyre wear factor, was that the reason why Jamie Fluke, you believe, came back and closed up on you so quick?
Yeah. I was pushing hard at the start, but it's that midpoint of the race where the BMW really struggles. You can get it right occasionally, but it's very sensitive, and so you have to drive an almost perfect race. And if you don't have the perfect race, then it's very easy to lose that edge, and the tire just once it goes, and you can't recover it. So I think I just pushed a tiny bit too hard, and that's why I started falling back.
Yeah, I mean, you've been very much carrying the flag for G2 Esports now all season long. Your results essentially bringing them to the top in a sense. But today, obviously, we saw Isaac Price enter his car into the mix. He's heading through as well. Have you managed to sort of speak to your teammates, perhaps offer some words of wisdom, some advice to help your team out?
To be honest, I think they know what they're doing. They're some of the best drivers in the world. No one gets into this series because they're not good enough. Some people have good seasons, some have bad, but they know what they need, so they don't need me telling them do this, do that. I trust them to get it done, and Isaac's in the final, so he's clearly doing something right.
Well, I feel like I'm stating the obvious here, but is it possible? What are we going to see tonight? Is it Sebastian Job back on top? Are you going to take a final win? Are you going to take round 7? Are we going to be seeing the name Sebastian Job on the top of round 7 tonight?
Yes.
Fantastic. Love it. Congratulations, Seb.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
All I'm going to say is my prediction for Seb was right. Forget about Road Atlanta. This is the Seb Job Road something. I tried to do something there. It didn't really work.
Seb does the Job. That's what he does. He does the Job.
He does do the Job. He do be jobing right now. But you know what? If you also want to be jobing, go ahead and type exclamation mark. So.
Yeah. Let me ask you in the chat. Is jobbing a word?
It is now. I'm coining the term. It's very much a thing. Go ahead and type exclamation mark survey in the chat. Make sure you're there with us at DreamHack. I'm super excited for the major, and you could be in with a shot of not only winning some tickets for DreamHack, but also some sweet ESL R1 merchandise as well. Oh man, it's been a bit of an explosive racing so far, but I would like to welcome to join me here on the broadcast, Andre, the team manager from Team Redline. Andre, welcome. How are you feeling? What are the vibes like in the team?
Hi guys. I mean, sort of mixed feelings so far. I think that we have 2 cars in the final, 2 cars out. Kevin is out, Jeffrey is out. So mixed feelings. I think we have a good chance in the final, but again, just like Seb just mentioned, it's all about quali. If we can qualify in the front position, maybe with him, do something similar like in Spa, I think then we have a chance to fight for the win. So yeah, sort of excited, but I wish that we would have more cars in the final. I think both Jeff and Kevin deserved it. But I think 2 out of 4 is good.
Well, with the new edition of Road Atlanta, how are the team enjoying it? What's the vibe? Is it positive, thumbs up all round?
Yeah, I mean, it's we have been doing the same tracks for almost a year now, so it's always great to get a new edition. So Road Atlanta, obviously a very challenging track. We can see that perhaps the gaps are a little bit bigger, even though the track is quite short. So it's great to have the track. It's great to do something new, something different. And yeah, I think overall, the more tracks we have, the more variety we have in the series, and that's always a benefit for everyone, I think.
Well, I think it's kind of no secret that individuals in the team have been struggling a little bit, especially compared to last season. So why is it that you think that some of your drivers have been struggling from the start of the season?
Do you have any specific names in mind, or?
Like Enzo, for example, is there anything that's
Yeah.
been going on in the team? Is there anything specific he's finding
Well,
difficult?
I think as a team, I mean, I think we are strong as individually and as a team. We work together. There's no problem as such. I mean, all the guys have been working together for many years now, so that's not the concern here, or that's not the issue. I think Enzo sort of struggles a little bit to find the right motivation. He obviously, all of us have certain challenges with the car, and it's not easy. Once you get into sort of negative thinking or negative mindset, then it's very easy to stay in it, because then it means that you may not be able to deliver proper qualifying laps, and that's what you need. Like you can look at Seb Job right now. He's on the top of his game. He's doing every single qualification perfectly, and that's something that we, for example, had with Luke last year. And as soon as you get out of this mood, let's say, or mindset, you lose a bit of confidence, then that means that you will struggle a bit more in quali. It's not a question of pace. All of the 4 guys are equally matched in testing. They are, I think all of them are world top class drivers. So it's just real about confidence and having the right mindset for qualification.
Yeah. Well, we noticed there was one point during the race that we've just seen where Enzo and Kevin are going toe-to-toe with one another. What is the game plan in that instance? Because obviously Enzo incredibly in need of points, but then Kevin more likely to take away the overall victory for the entire round. What's the game plan in situations like that?
Yeah, so right now we really wanted to focus that Enzo makes it to the final, and that Enzo would make the cut for Sweden. That's that was the focus. So we wanted to make sure that Enzo is in top 6. Kevin obviously qualified behind him, so there was not too much management to be done. Obviously, we wanted to make it a little bit easier for Enzo, so Kevin did a good job of, let's say, creating additional gap that Enzo needed to stay ahead of cars chasing from behind. So I think it worked okay, but again, if we all had +1 position, we would be all in final. So just a bit of a shame, but yeah, it's okay.
Well, we've overall seen a very positive upwards trajectory for yourself and the team as a whole as well compared to the start of this season. Are there any specific changes that have been made, your approach to racing and things like that?
Nothing too specific, or let me put it this way, I will not go into details. But no, I think it's just really what I mentioned before, gaining the confidence. And I think we've seen it with Jeffrey recently, that as soon as he gets the confidence, and we've seen it in Saudi, Jeffrey was on it. And that's the thing. Like we've seen it with Bennett last year. We've seen it with Kevin last race. So it's, managing the confidence levels in a way that the guys will be able to deliver when it matters in qualification. And we started the season obviously in a bit poor note with a couple of incidents, false start issue with wheel, but now hopefully it's getting a bit into a more standard results.
Well, yourself and your drivers have most definitely found their groove in more than just one way with the recent announcement of the Team Redline partnership with Red Bull as well. So tell us all, what does this mean for you and the team?
Right now, it's sort of early days, so it's very hard to comment on the future plans. Obviously, we are involved with the team preparing for F1 Esports. In terms of the Rensport team, if that's what you're asking, that's something that will be discussed over the winter, and we will see what that means or doesn't mean. Again, cannot comment at this point, so but nevertheless, very exciting news.
Yeah. I love the fact that you're keeping us on our toes. I'm definitely excited to see what yourself and the team are going to be bringing to the major. You guys looking forward to it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always great to be on LAN events. And I think it sort of brings a little bit different not attitude, but a little different atmosphere where different drivers are able to shine. It's all the distractions around basically mean that perhaps there's not so much pressure in qualifications, and that means that we may be able to perform at least we have the confidence that usually we perform it better on the LAN events than on online events where it's really perfect conditions for everyone. On LAN events, there's always something that's a little bit wrong. You need to adapt to. You need to quickly change from maybe a poor race into reset, do it again and again. And I think it worked quite well last time in Saudi. So yeah, we hope to repeat that or do one better.
Well, best of luck to you and the team. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me on broadcast.
Thanks.
Ooh, lots to dissect there, lots to unpack. I'm kind of curious though, what do you make of the Kevin Enzo strategy behind that? I think it was definitely the right approach, most definitely. You want to make sure Enzo is stack padding as many points as possible, really.
Yeah, I mean, setting yourself assurances, I think, for the top 24 is what's necessary. And I think when they're placing all their cards in the deck of Enzo Benito, I think that's a very smart move by the team. And obviously, we just heard from Andre there. He is so calculated in the manner in which he sort of carries out his work. And I think that shows in Team Redline's performances. While sometimes they do sort of come off the bottle at certain times in unexpected moments, really, they do always find a way to come back. And I think we can look at Jeffrey Rietveld as a prime example. I mean, the spring series didn't really go to plan, should we say, but Gamers 8 certainly did, and he managed to find his form that we all know that he can bring to the table, and he's really followed that through as well. So Rietveld has definitely been an upwards trajectory, as has the team in itself. But yeah, he was quite coy as well, as you'd expect over the Red Bull news. Obviously still very fresh. Obviously I'm sure we'll hear more as time goes on, but obviously it hasn't affected the way the team are working, and obviously with the drivers still at the forefront looking to do the business, we'll look forward to seeing what they can pull out tonight.
Well, I'm super excited to hear all of the things that are going to come out of Team Redline. But how about our Driver Championship? Should we have a little bit of a revisit as to how things are shaping up so far, bro? This top 24 is going to honestly be the death of me. I feel like I'm on the very edge of my seat.
Well, I mean, it's not ideal for Thibaut Kazibon. That last race obviously saw him being dumped out of the proceedings. So obviously now he's got to pray that obviously those behind don't succeed. Obviously James Baldwin is through, and he'll be one to certainly try and drill him some points. Isaac Price could be on the cusp as well of bringing some big points home as well. If you're Bono House as well, I think you're going to be a little disappointed too. Obviously he just could not get going throughout that race. Jakub Brzezinski, another example of someone who's down in 23rd and right on the bubble. If you're Mitchell de Jong, Jakub Brzezinski, Bono House, as well as perhaps even Moritz Lerner at this point, you're quaking in your boots. And I think Thibaut Kazibon, as a result of not going through, could yet see himself being pulled into that battle to decide who goes into the top 24.
You know what absolutely broke my heart a little bit? When I saw Moritz's tweet saying the best birthday present ever would be a guaranteed spot in Sweden. And that just goes to show how much it means to all of our drivers as well. Do you want to wave a magic wand? Grant a birthday wish?
Wish I had one. Honestly, I wish I had one. He's one of the kindest people in the world, Moritz Lerner, and one of the nicest as well. We had a chance to obviously catch up with him during the Spring Series Major, and then of course we had it again at Gamers 8 as well. But he is such a nice young man as well, a proven driver as well, even in real life, of course, competing in the world of DTM and many others, and has now since supplied his trade in sim racing. So he's fully committed, obviously working with the Mouse team to try and raise their prospects. Of course, Mouse stated from the very get-go with, such statement signings, with the likes of Max Benneker and Moritz Lerner as prime examples, that they really wanted to have a big go at the sim racing, and they really have shown that they can definitely duel against the best. Without a doubt, I'm sure we'll see Moritz back fighting up at the sharp end again soon.
Well, one thing's for sure, they definitely got a 3-for-1, right? IRL driver, sim racer, and professional Jenga player. For sure. If you know, you know. If you don't know, then you don't know.
Oh, I know. I know.
Everybody knows. We played like a 2-hour-long game of Jenga, and it was the best moment of my life so far. I don't know if that's happy or like a sad memory. But anyways, let's go ahead and go through our driver lineup for our finals. I'm super excited for this one. Talk to me, homie. How do we feel about this? Is Enzo going to be rising to the top?
Well, it doesn't get much better than this, does it? Because we've got Joshua Rogers as well, one of the heroes of Porsche Coanda, right behind Sebastian Job as well in terms of the title charge, but the gap is still quite significant. Yuri Toman, one of the most consistent performers we saw. He has competed in 19 out of 19. You can make it 20 out of 20 as well, if you like, with Dara McCormack as well in behind, Marcel Chinchik in 5th place. RAG looking stacked. A hat tip, though, to ART Mercedes. They have blown all expectations, I would say, and this team just keeps getting better and better and better, and feeding off the jubilation behind the win from Kevin Ellis Jr. and the superb second place that was nearly a win for Jamie Fluke. We all heard from Sebastian Job, he was not comfortable with Fluke in his rear. Could that yet transcend into the final tonight?
One thing is for sure, George, the UK boys make all the noise. A lot of UK representation in that, and I absolutely love it. But how about Sebastian Job? His performances so far have been absolutely stellar. How do you think he's going to be faring in our finals?
Well, he's the one to beat, isn't he? I mean, I'm not pulling any punches when I say that he is the greatest sim racer, I would say, in the world today. I mean, I think Andre Coachman, I think also off the interview you just had with him, I think admitted to the fact that he is top of his game, and he is. He is definitely going to be someone to beat out there. I mean, I think some drivers will take, I think, a little bit of promise out of the fact that Jamie Fluke did manage to close up to him during the semi-final race, so there is a chance that we could yet see a twist in the tail. But based off to what we saw in qualifying, he has been sensational. And just look at the points difference here as well. Joshua Rogers, who has been with Porsche Coanda since the very beginning, 333 total points against the 408 that Sebastian Job has as well. Obviously, in terms of Joshua Rogers' stint in the ESL R1, that explains the top sixes being at 40. But look at the percentages. That's the key number you want to look at. 85.71% going to Sebastian Job, meaning that he's taken more top sixes in the time that he's been racing than Joshua Rogers has in his time of racing. Despite 76.92 being impressive, 85.71 reads a lot better. And take a look at the podiums. Despite the stint that he's had, 19 podiums going the way of Sebastian Job. Just goes to show how great he truly is.
Well, one thing is for sure, he has certainly been dominating the competition, but what about Luke Bennett? I know he was dominating the competition in the previous season. So, Lewis, get yourself in here. Let's have a chit-chat. What can you tell me about Luke Bennett's stats?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say with, obviously, we've just had a new driver move into second on the all-time win list. That is Sebastian Job. But to be fair, not too far behind. It shows how many wins he took earlier on. Is Luke Bennett. He has 11 wins in ESL R1 competition across the board, which is not bad. You know, Sebastian Job now has 14. Of course, the driver who's got the most wins is Josh Rogers on 23. But for Luke Bennett, you know, inside that top 10. For Isaac Price, also inside the top 20 of these two. Maybe they're outside chances for going after a win. Clearly the BMW's got some speed around here in qualifying, but it kind of drops off in the race, so we'll have to keep an eye on these drivers to where they can manage to get themselves. Of course, for Isaac Price, there is the concern that maybe he'll get knocked out of the top 24. Is currently inside it. Luke Bennett, I wonder if his main priority in this race is going to be the same as kind of what Kevin Siggy's was in the previous. It's more about what happens with Enzo Benito than even what happens with himself, unless he has a chance to win.
One thing is for sure, if it was the two of you, there ain't no way you'd be giving up your spot for the other one. I will hedge my bets on that one. 100%.
I'd crash him off.
No. Give it up for Glade. No chance.
You guys, honestly, it's probably a good thing that you're not teammates, put it that way. But you know what? I'm going to be hedging my bets and my prediction on Sebastian Job to close this one out pretty comfortably.
Do you know what? We need to stop this whole going first nonsense. That's got to come to an end. No, honestly, that is terrible of you, Jasmine. No, hey, look, I'm a true believer. I'm going to go Kevin Ellis Jr. I think we could see something sensational tonight. Let's go for Big Kev tonight.
Do you know what? I'm looking in my rule book here, the commentary rule book. It does say that there's no rule that says I can't pick who you've picked. So, but no, obviously I'll just have to go with Joshua Rogers. It's a tough one to pick. Obviously, you know, Sebi's the fastest. The second fastest lap time that we've seen around here has come from Kevin Ellis Jr. But still, I've got to have faith in Rogers to seal the deal.
Well, you know what, Lewis, I don't have a single doubt in my mind that the only note you have in that notebook of yours is a little drawing of a car that says "car goes vroom."
No, it's actually it's a bad drawing of the track, but we're not going to talk about that one. It's right there. We're not talking about that one.
You know what? That was close enough. I'm impressed.
Vincent Van McGlade. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, without further ado, fellas, please do take us through our grand finals.
Yes, thank you very much, Jasmine. We have made it, folks. The final race of the evening here at Road Atlanta, here in round 7, and the stakes could not be higher. Plenty of drivers looking to gain some extra points in order to gain safety for Sweden. Sebastian Job looking to add win number 11 to his list, which could yet happen, Lewis McGlade.
Yeah, of course. Like I say, he's moved to second on the all-time winners list now, has Sebastian Job. We're going to pull up his stats across the entire run as his 14th win. And like we said before, when it comes to drivers and clean sweeps, he is on the cusp of potentially taking a clean sweep here. We've seen it 3 times before. It could be the 4th today. But he's got to beat off drivers like this, Joshua Rogers and Dane Warren, who are out on track. Dane Warren, who's out of focus potentially. I thought it was Josh then. Sorry, got a bit ahead of myself.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Dave Moran certainly ahead of himself. 9.6 in the first sector is where he needs to be, so getting off to a superb start so far as he makes his way through the S's section. Of course, we've spoken about how volatile this circuit can be, and Joshua, certainly Dave Moran, I should say, you've got that in my head now, Lewis McGlade. As we now see Warren make his way through the middle sector, heading through this next right-hander, keeping it tight to the inside. Needs to make sure he can maximise the pace. Certainly not afraid of some of these curbs as well, despite how treacherous they really are. The ride height, just barely dealing with them.
Yeah, certainly so. But again, we'll see what that middle sector is. We know the Porsche kind of struggles a little bit in the middle sector. So a 40.2, that's slower. That is slower than what we would want to see. If it's like a 40.0 in a Porsche, that's fine. A 40.2 is too slow. So I think this is definitely going to be in the 17s. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to be challenging for pole position for Dave.
No, not at all. 40.2. Ideally, would want it around the 39s. Dave Moran could have got away with a 40.0, as you so rightly alluded to, Lewis, but now making his way around the final corner. Dave Moran to get us back underway here, and it's a 17.1, not ideal, and the frustration clearly showing on the Wonder from Down Under.
What a first sector. That is the fastest first sector we've seen from anyone from Dara McCormack. A 9.5. It's just one corner though, so we'll read into that what we will. Second sector's dropped off a little bit, but we've seen that a few times from the Mercs. I still think this will be potentially a 16.9. He's aiming to get himself somewhere inside the top couple of rows. You can win from there. Let's see what Dara McCormack will do. He comes through the final corner out towards the line, and he is devastated with a 17.0. Qualifying is not working this season for McCormack.
No, it's not, and usually it's something that he's very strong at as well. We generally see the best times around the late 16s. Marcel Cinchik doing a 9.6 in the first sector, which is about standard. The 40.0 isn't bad in Sector 2. Remember, Marcel Cinchik, an ESL R1 champion, all the way back in Munich. The Hungarian looking to once again bring the big numbers to his path now as he makes his way down towards the start-finish line and goes fastest by nearly 0.2 of a second. That is absolutely superb by magnificent Marcel.
Yeah, now he's the 3rd fastest driver, is Marcel Cinchik. We've seen a low 8 from Kevin Ellis Jr. We've obviously seen a couple of 7s come in the hands of Sebastian Job. Here's Sebastian Job's teammate, Isaac Price. We don't have the sectors on him, but trust me, this car, it can go quickly. We know the G2 drivers are pretty fast. If we're seeing a 0.8, a 0.9, maybe he's up for the chances of taking victory. What's he doing across the line? It is not any of that. Goes into 3rd behind McCormack.
We heard from Andre Coachman earlier on speaking about Luke Bennett in his own right, was also in a place that Sebastian Job was in once before here in this very competition. We know how strong all these drivers are. Luke Bennett back into final contention again and looking to perhaps bring big points here for Team Redline with a 9.6 in the first sector. Certainly is in the right place. 39.8 is sensational in Sector 2. Coming up towards the line, Luke Bennett goes 2nd fastest. 22 thousandths off the top. Cinchik barely surviving.
Yeah, big slap at the thigh there for him. Let's take a look at Kevin Ellis Jr. Again, we've said about some of the cars, the middle sector being a 39.9. It's not great, but that's not terrible for the Merc. The first sector's okay. It's about half a tenth off what we saw from McCormack, but the second sector's much better. This could be an 8. This absolutely could be a 16.8. We've seen an 8 from him. A little bit of a grimace coming through the final corner. I'm not sure it will be. Maybe a 0.9 as he comes through the final corner up towards the line. It is going to be a 0.9, a 9.06 from Kevin Ellis Jr.
A 22,000 spread between Ps 1 and 3. Just looking at all of them within a quarter of 100. That is absolutely outrageous. And look at this as well. Yuri Toman, 9.6, 40.2 in the second sector. This is absolutely devastating here because, of course, he would prefer to be in the 39s. But here at this point for Yuri Toman, the Czech star now making his way down through towards the start-finish line. Where's he going to be? Oh, my goodness me, just over 0.2 of a second off.
But George, did you see? Look, I don't know if you saw it. The red checks appeared. Sebastian Job has a slowdown in this qualifying session, a 41.2. The driver
Rogers
with a clean sweep here at Road Atlanta, and Josh Rogers has one as well. The two of the fastest drivers that we've seen around the circuit. This is opening the door for Marcel Chinchik, for Kevin Ellis Jr., and hey, maybe even for the likes of Jamie Fluke, James Baldwin, and Enzo Benito.
Well, I tell you what, Kevin Ellis Jr., a second win might not be out of the question here tonight, but certainly heartbreak for Sebastian Job, who is now 1.2 seconds off. And you can see the picture on Joshua Rogers' face, and it's not a pretty one. He's not happy one iota, unfortunately suffering a slowdown, as well as Sebastian Job, which means they will not be in contention for pole position here tonight, and naturally will set them back quite a degree as we head into our final race of the evening. He'll make his way down through the final two corners. Without a doubt, misery here for Porsche Coanda, as Joshua Rogers will not be setting a time anywhere near his best, 1.7 seconds off the pace.
Well, this really has put the cat amongst the pigeons. They're going to have to start from the rear of the grid. We've got 3 more drivers left to go. 3 drivers looking to take victory. Enzo Benito outside of the top 24. And trust me, with those drivers being down the order, this could be massive for him. James Baldwin into the final corner, looking to get himself onto pole position. What can he do? Baldwin across the line. Is it good enough? Not quite, just to 6th place.
Well, here comes Jamie Fluke, and James Baldwin in 6th place. Not ideal, probably would have hoped for more, but Jamie Fluke in his own right, 9.6 in the first sector, 39.8. That's where we like to see it in sector 2, as he now makes his way through that final chicane. Of course, 10A and 10B, and then heading through the final 2 corners as he now takes a deep dive, heading through towards the home straight. Now, where can he position this Mercedes? A big final sector required. Can he join Kevin Ellis Jr.? Oh, my goodness me! Jamie Fluke up at the top takes P1 away from Marcel Chinchik. A 1:16.861. We're now down to Enzo Benito.
The Apex Racing team are absolutely dancing at the moment. Potentially it's going to be 1st and 3rd on the grid here for the final. They would not have predicted that coming into it. They've looked so strong, but will it be good enough for Enzo Benito to maybe get amongst it? Of course, he's sat outside the top 24 in the standings at the moment, but this could be a big moment for him. The Italian crosses the line, moves into the top 5. Near his teammate, could have the assistant as well. What a qualifying here for round 7.
Yeah, let's take you through the starting grid, folks, and that was drama-filled, certainly to say the least. Joshua Rogers starting at the back, 12th fastest, and joining him, we spoke about him being the best in the world. He's 11th fastest in this grid order. Dane Warren in 10th, Toman in 9th. Then we have James Baldwin in 8th with Isaac Price in 7th place. We've also got Darren McCormack in 6th, Enzo Benito in 5th. Luke Bennett makes it 4th as well for Team Redline, but have a look at this. ART singing and dancing. Kevin Ellis Jr. in 3rd. Marcel Chinchik may have split them in 2nd, but it's Jamie Fluke who is on pole position for tonight's final race of the evening. And certainly Apex Racing Team, have they got a nosebleed? I'm not quite sure, but Apex Racing Team will, I'm sure, bring their best here in this final race. Can Jamie Fluke take victory once again here in ESL R1 in the Winter Series? We'll have to wait and see, and he knows that he's going to cook up something special. But take a look at this, folks. What an occasion. And look at that. On the far left, Jamie Fluke and Kevin Ellis Jr., Apex Racing Team Mercedes, with a great chance here of bringing home a massive result for the team.
Wow, what a big session. I mean, we've seen it before, big heavy hitters getting befuddled by qualifying. We saw it earlier on the season when we went racing at the Hockenheim Ring. That was in the semi-finals, of course. We saw quite a lot of big heavy hitters, including Sebastian Job and literally the entire field when it comes to our big drivers getting knocked out. So, we've seen big drama before, but in a final like this, I mean, that's just a huge, huge moment. And honestly, I don't know who's going to take the win. Jamie Fluke's race pace has been absolutely incredible.
Well, just don't turn away, folks. Don't turn away. I mean, obviously, the big factor is Joshua Rogers and Sebastian Job both getting penalised with slowdowns during the qualifying session. Both drivers you'd expect to be on the front row of the grid, Lewis. And yet, it's like, well, they've done the opposite. They're now starting from the very back.
Indeed. Everyone, turn off F1 quali. It's boring. It's almost over. Just focus on the race. We've got an absolute banger in for us, surely. Always, penny for the thoughts of Dara McCormack. Another qualifying session with more problems for him. He's got the pace. He knows he's got the pace. But a couple of issues in quali, and he keeps opening the door for a few people. But he's still up in the mix, for this win. It's still some potential.
Well, you don't want to look away, folks. Enzo Benito certainly won't be as he looks to get primed. Isaac Price making he's the highest G2 car in this starting grid, so he's going to have to try and plumb up something massive at the very start, but a great opportunity, I'm sure, for him. Should he get a good getaway? James Baldwin, I think, a little pensive after a tough day at the office, but still, it's a final appearance here for Mercedes once again, and James Baldwin showing that he is flying the flag for Mercedes still. Of course, they're looking very much like G2 Esports in the sense that they've got one driver essentially bringing the big results here, but they need to dig deeper. But Jamie Fluke, what could be going through his head, Lewis?
What have I done? Have I done? What have I done? Where am I? I'm on what? That's what's going through his head right now. That is what's going through. His heart rate is rising with it.
Yeah, it certainly is, and now they all line up ready for the final time here tonight at Road Atlanta. Never a better occasion than to race here in the United States. And here for the first time in final equation, it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. And look at this from Jamie Fluke, and Pinterm still leads the way at the start. Marcel Chinchik falling in behind. Another great start for Kevin Ellis Jr., who could yet make it an Apex Racing team. 1-2, but first needs to get past that Audi R8.
Yeah, like I say, brilliant start there. Did exactly what he needed to do with Jamie Fluke. We head through the S's section, begin our rise up the hill. And I say, I wonder if there might be a switch between these two, between Luke Bennett and Enzo Benito. Put Enzo Benito as high up the order as possible. Put him in position to maybe get himself inside the top 24. But there's going to be big dramas behind between Dane Warren and Sebastian Jobe and Josh Rogers as well.
Yeah, the two Porsche commanders coming together now as Joshua Rogers takes 10th place away. Remember, starting on the back row of the grid, Sebastian Jobe still yet to elevate himself off the bottom. This is going to be a big test here for Sebastian Jobe and Josh Rogers alike. Obviously, after facing that penalty that unfortunately meant that they were chained to the back of the grid at the very start of this race. Obviously, it has put them in a bit of a backwards keel, but now we're seeing Dara McCormack swapping all over the back of Enzo Benito, keen to make the big moves as Sebastian Jobe comes in on the attack.
Yeah, Jobe's just trying to get some points here, but positions we were expecting Dane Warren, Sebastian Jobe and Josh Rogers to be fighting over did not include double digits, 10, 11 and 12 at the moment. Sebastian Jobe remains at the rear of the field despite having the pace, and he knows if he's going to make up any spots in this race, it has to be early because the tyres will go off on that BMW. Looks to the inside going into T1, does not clear Dane Warren, who is able to hold on to 11th position. Huge stuff. But again, do remember that these are effectively running first through 12th of 48 drivers. Don't forget, we've already knocked out 36 of them. These are the final 12 left in it.
He was very candid about the tyre wear issue in our previous race, and obviously that allowed Jamie Fluke to try and cause a few headaches, bring his car up to the forefront. He's right at the forefront this time, though, and still leads the way. Look at the gap as well. Beyond 6 tenths, nearly 7 tenths, the difference between Chinchik and Jamie Fluke, with Kevin Ellis Jr. still within half a second of Marcel Chinchik at this point. Tell you what, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Apex Racing tonight. Sebastian Jobe looks to open the door, heading down the long back straight, heading through turn 9. They make their way down the straight once again. Heavy braking zone coming up and contacting behind as well as Jobe now looks to force a move as they head in towards that chicane now, wheel to wheel. They remain. Dane Warren now trying to defend the place vehemently here as they look to make their way down the crest. Sebastian Jobe trying to point his car forward, take the aggressive line through the final 2 corners, but can't unsettle here. Can't unsettle Dane Warren just now. He still retains that 11th place. An unbelievable scrap, though, between 2 great drivers.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. They might all be joined a little bit back here by a certain someone else soon, because I've just had word in my ear. James Baldwin has received a penalty. He must give up 3 positions within the next 3 laps. So he has to give up to Toman, to Rogers, and to Warren as well. I think Price might have been one of those. He's got to give up 3 positions anyway after receiving a penalty on that first lap. And you can see visible frustration for him. He's like, what do you mean? Give up? What do I do? And he's looking to score some very important points. He's not that far above the cutoff.
Yeah, and he's the only representative for the Mercedes outfit as well. Currently sits in 8th place, and has to be said, it hasn't been the best of starts. He has been swarmed up on. Isaac Price has done a great job of holding on to his position in 7th. Darren McCormack in 6th as well, right to the tail of Enzo Benito. And there is Baldwin giving up the places. And now going past him are Toman, Rogers, as well as, well, Isaac Price holding position as well. And Baldwin to the back of the field in P12. That is going to be frustrating.
Yep. That is, like I say, the thing is that the 3 positions probably wouldn't have been a problem if they were all there. He was, I think, was mostly irritated. He had to give up a couple and then give up the big gap. Let's see what Enzo Benito can do. Darren McCormack straight round the outside of the first corner. Oh my goodness, that is beautiful from Darren McCormack. Couple of snaps of oversteer from Enzo Benito as well. And now Isaac Price is knocking at the door of the top 6.
Yeah, showing his brilliance that brought him to be a 3-times race winner this season. Yuri Toman now also looking to try and nestle in some big scores as well. Currently sits 8th place, a position where Toman isn't necessarily used to, but still maintains the record of featuring in every single race throughout this series, which is absolutely unbelievable. Credit to him as well for that, because that just shows the mere consistency level that Toman carries for RAG, and he does carry it with grand honour as well. He is just an absolute statement of a driver at RAG as he looks to now try and grind in against Isaac Price. 8th place, as I said. Josh Rogers right on his tail though. The complexion could yet change for Rogers should he get himself higher up the order. Of course, this train is quite well, it is quite large. I mean, you can just look at this now. Darren McCormack 1.8 away from Luke Bennett. So this train existing all the way from Piece 5 down to Piece 12. There's Enzo Benito, who is now hunting down Darren McCormack, looking to try and take the place that he lost, but that was a sensational move for McCormack.
Yeah, no, it really was very impressive. Again, he's just looking to score some points. He wanted to take part in the chance of taking a victory here. It does seem as though it might come from Mercedes, but not from Williams. Like we said, we know the Mercs have gone quite well this season, just unfortunately not in the hands of the actual main Mercedes team, but we are seeing it in the hands of the Apex Racing team. They are flying at the moment. I'm sure things are very nervy behind the scenes of the Apex Racing team. Imagine the nails that probably don't exist anymore, and Alex Simpson, of course, you know, team manager of the Apex Racing team squad. He's going to be feeling quite a lot of pressure watching 2 drivers put on an incredible performance here, but Fluke's getting stronger and stronger, by the way. That gap's grown to 3/4 of a second now. He's checking out from Chinchik.
Yeah, and also Kevin Ellis Jr. still only half a second behind Marcel Chinchik, so sit tight. We could be yet seeing some late drama here in this race. Enzo Benito once again drawing closer to Darren McCormack. Does have that benefit of slipstream here, and McCormack doesn't have that because of course he's 1.9 away from Kevin Ellis Jr. in front, and Bennett is careering obviously onwards and upwards, trying to pivot his way on the tail of McCormack's car as they make their way through the final sector once again. There's Isaac Price in the bottom left. Now I want to say this is such an important race for Price because he came into the semi-final at this point on 24th place, right on the threshold of getting through to Sweden. He needed a big result here tonight in order to try and retain safety. He's definitely taken a big step forward here tonight, Lewis.
Yeah, no, honestly, this is amazing. Kind of actually goes back a little bit to what we were hearing from Eamon Murphy, of course, in the interview that he said, you know, one big round and you can completely change your fortunes in ESL R1. That's kind of what we're seeing from Isaac Price here. You know, maybe being an outsider, maybe to be honest, being a driver that I was like, no, I wouldn't have picked him pre-season to have gone through into the top 24. He is now almost guaranteeing himself being into the top 24. But what have we been talking about all the way through this broadcast is that for someone to go into that top 24, for someone to secure themselves in that top 24, someone else needs to be put into the danger zone. Someone else needs to be knocked out of those transferring to Sweden.
Yeah, and plus also in final rounds, obviously final races of each round, there is extra points on offer in comparison, obviously, to our regular races that we have in the quarterfinal and the semi. So taking a big result here in this very race can very much change your fortunes throughout this championship. As we now take a look at Toman, who's furiously trying to work hard in that Audi R8 here against Isaac Price. Obviously, like we said, positions mean points, and Toman knows that more than anybody. Of course, he would like to win a championship, much like his teammate and counterpart Marcel Chinchik, who currently sits in second here in this classification. As we see the cars come together, Luke Bennett getting closer and closer to the back of Kevin Ellis Jr. now as well, only 3/10 away from that P3 spot. Darren McCormack still doing a wonderful job here at this point too. Should say Benito right on the tail of McCormack at this stage, still half a second separating them. Bennett still drawing away from McCormack here, though that time gap sitting on the threshold of 1.5 seconds.
Certainly so. It's looking comfortable for Fluke to become another winner in ESL R1. We've got a whole list of them, to be perfectly honest. And most importantly is that since we saw that Bennica win a few rounds ago, all of the winners have been new winners to ESL R1. Of course, we've had Nikodem Vishnevsky, we've had Yuri Toman, we've had Kevin Siggy, all becoming new round winners. Jamie Fluke looking to join the list right now and believe become the 10th, if my maths is correct. But I'll come back to you on that one.
Well, I tell you what, he of course scored victory back at the Nürburgring in the semi-final, as we alluded to, and I'm sure this one will taste a lot sweeter here, Jamie Fluke, as he looks to try and bring it home. It's not all said and done yet, though. We're still on lap 8 of 12. And many drivers trying to hedge their bets a little bit here as we come in towards the closing stages of this race. Of course, we've got round 8 coming up after this one, and that could yet, or will decide anyway, the team's title. So plenty up for grabs, and obviously the drivers want to try and maximise their points offering in order to best help their teams. And with the gargantuan fight we have on offer, you can't help but look at the battle between Porsche Commander and RAG at the moment, because obviously there's quite a stern teams championship going on, and these two are right in the thick of it.
Yeah, by the way, I'm just going to correct myself. We've had 10 winners. Siggy was the 10th. When it comes to final victors. So Jamie Fluke's looking to be the 11th, but yes, whilst that's all happening, like I say, Teams Championship, Porsche Commander, yes, RAG, they're too far down the road. RAG aren't going to get caught by anyone. Porsche Commander are looking to secure second. Redline, though, honestly, with results like this, Redline are coming after him, and we've seen Redline and Coanda go toe-to-toe time and time again in the world of sim racing. And when you consider where Rogers and Warren are, and when you consider where Bennett and Benito are, and when you consider that Warren's about to lose some more points because guess who's coming through? Sebi Joe marched his way up the order. Yeah, this team's championship for second is not done. It's going to come down to the wire when we go to the final round just next week. That's when the team championship gets wrapped up.
Yeah, what I find unbelievable as well is the fact that Jamie Fluke is still ushering in fastest lap, so he's doing a stellar job here. Yuri Toman now on the back of Isaac Price. So while one G2 car ascends, one comes under threat. Price now trying to hedge his bets here, holding on to 7th place. The gap between him and Enzo Benito sitting in 0.6 of a second, while Toman looks to press the issue. Joshua Rogers also just following suit in behind the Audi R8 LMS as they cruise through the S section now here on lap 9 of 12. Over the crest again, as we see them now pirouette down the hill and heading in towards the middle sector in itself. Toman focused as he is ever, looking to bring home yet more points here for RAG. Of course, they've got Chinchik, as I said, up in 2nd place, but the gap now not coming down that much between Chinchik and Fluke, who is doing an absolutely sterling job of holding the pace up at the front end with that fastest lap to boot as well. This is a very impressive performance here from the Apex Racing Team Mercedes. Kevin Ellis Jr. as well, right in the thick of it. We're seeing him now here in 3rd place, and there he is in the bottom left-hand corner, focused as he's ever been, and looking to bring home yet another big result here for Apex Racing, and he's doing a marvellous job of keeping Luke Bennett behind.
And we've only ever, in all of our time doing this year, when it comes to finals, we've only ever seen one time where a team finished 1st and 2nd in a final. It was round 6 of the spring season. It was Marco Pajic and it was James Baldwin. Kevin Ellis Jr. would dearly love to make that an addition to the list and would like to once again settle the record books by getting himself into 2nd position and putting the Apex Racing Team 1 and 2. Remember how strong they started, getting, was it 3 of the 4 drivers, all 4 drivers? I think it was all 4 actually, into the final back in the first event at Katowice. We were sat there thinking, right, the Apex Racing Team, they're going to be the most consistent team that we've got. Things started to fall apart a little bit for them. They weren't able to piece too many things together. The results weren't coming in thick and fast. Well, this season it's been a different time. They've got 2 more laps to try and hang on, but Marcel Chinchik with his single round victory at the end of last season, he would like another one, and he's closing back in, George.
He certainly is. Chinchik right in behind now. 0.4 of a second is the gap. And remember, Chinchik is a champion. He's a former Munich champion during the Spring Series Major. Managed to bring home the big prize, as well as Toman now looks to try and charge here on Isaac Price. He's only 0.2 away as well. Joshua Rogers still asking questions. Unfortunately down in 9th place now in behind Toman's car.
Yeah, this is, like I say, big moment at the front of the field. I am not feeling where Fluke's nerves are right now. You know, We saw that watch from Moritz Lerner, what he posted on social media. What was it, 130 odd beats per minute? Yeah, Jamie Fluke, I'm not joking. I'd be surprised if it wasn't pushing about 150, 160 right now. That is some proper cardio heart rate, and I promise you the level of concentration you're required to keep to behind a wheel of this car when you've got the pressure of a champion on your shoulders, that heart rate is going through the roof.
It certainly is, and just look at the gaps as well. We saw Kevin Ellis Jr. dropping out to beyond a second earlier on away from Marcel Chinchik, and that just goes to show how much Chinchik is pushing now. He's trying to cause problems for Fluke here in the closing stages of this race. Penultimate lap will come to an end very, very soon, and we'll begin the final lap here of round 7 in the final. Fluke still leads here, with Chinchik now starting to close and trying to usher in as much delta as he can against the Mercedes in front. Fluke, of course, leading this contingent of Apex Racing team cars, which includes Kevin Ellis Jr., of course brand new to the Mercedes fold this season, given the fact that they swapped cars and are now ushering in a new manufacturer for themselves in order to try and improve results. And I would say, off the face of it, it was an improvement that was much needed as they now make their way around the final corners, certainly here, or certainly the opening of this lap now. On lap 12 of 12, it's Fluke who leads, but Chinchik applying the pressure. He's beyond a second now on Kevin Ellis Jr.
But what was the car that the Apex Racing team gave up? What did they move out of? Yeah, it was the Audi R8 that Marcel Chinchik is hounding them with at the moment. Coming up through the S's. See how much risk Marcel Chinchik took on the exit of the S's there up towards T5. Took way too much curb. The Merc can take the curb. The Audi R8 certainly cannot. And it is bitten him. The gap goes up to 0.6 of a second. I think we're going to see our 11th winner here. It's not going to remain at 10. I don't think Chinchik's going to be able to do it as they come out of T7 onto the back stretch.
Absolutely unbelievable scenes here. Chinchik making a huge mistake, and we saw the look on his face as well, and the frustration still burns here for Marcel Chinchik. He knows what it could have meant if he passed Jamie Fluke as well. Another victory in the box for Marcel Chinchik has just ebbed away, but for Jamie Fluke, who is looking to usher in his first final victory, and certainly to bring it here in great style, here in a brand new circuit at Road Atlanta. He's going to have warm memories of this one. Once again, he's a race winner. It's no fluke for Jamie Fluke. He wins here at Road Atlanta, and in great style as well. Apex Racing team celebrating a 1-3 with this man and the head honcho of it all, Jamie Fluke. What a result. I tell you what, intensity, you can say that again, but he held it together. A special qualifying lap that would bring him to the dance. He is once again on top, this time around in ESL R1, this time at Road Atlanta. What a special result, and I can't help but have a smile on my face, Lewis.
Got to say, you know, one of the oldest drivers on the grid, showing these young whippersnappers how it's done. Unbelievable performance from Jamie Fluke, using all that experience, piecing it together. And every time I see Jamie Fluke, and I think, oh, you know, maybe he's closing in on, you know, taking a break from sim racing, taking a step back from sim racing. He delivers a performance like that, and you think this is peak Fluke. That is, honestly, I've seen Jamie Fluke race quite a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. That is one of the best performances I've ever seen from him. Unreal.
Unbelievable indeed, and I have to tell you, folks, we'll have to look back at that again. Lewis, I believe we got some highlights we can check out. Do you want to take us through it?
Yeah, certainly so. Let's take a look at highlights then from the final race here. Round 7 at ESL R1. Jamie Fluke on that pole position, leading from Yuri Toman and the likes into that first quarter. Marcel Chinchik. A bit of a look in the background, though, after dramas in qualifying. Joshua Rogers, Dane Warren and Sebastian Joe all at the rear of the field. And, yeah, big drama for them, struggling to work their way back up the field. And Sebastian Joe trying to grab 11th spot off of Dane Warren. The fight would take them through the chicane, and still Joe was not able to work his way through. Warren holding up quite the defence to keep Sebastian Joe behind and nullify any chances of him grabbing some extra bonus points from the round. They'd be joined a little bit later on by James Baldwin after a penalty for him. He had to drop back 3 spots. Dara McCormack, unbelievable move around the outside of Enzo Benito, who sits just outside the top 24. Needs to score some healthy points from this, and Benito in the final, almost doing so. Looking backwards, seeing Joshua Rogers closing in and trying to get himself up the order, whilst James Baldwin would go straight over at the chicane, whilst in that fight with Sebastian Job, and that straight over at the chicane would drop him right off the rear of the field. A big shame for Baldwin, who needed some good points here. Eventually, Job would get himself ahead of Warren, and eventually, Jamie Fluke would come through the final corner for an unbelievable win to become our 11th different final winner in ESL R1, ahead of Marcel Chinchik and his teammate Kevin Ellis Jr. Absolutely unreal performance from those two, and like you say, just pieced together brilliantly.
Well, there was quite a few things to digest in that race. One of them was James Baldwin's incident. We're going to now cross over to our resident race director. Of course, Adrian is going to be joining us for an interview. Adrian, good to see you. We hope you're keeping well. Obviously, a very frantic race. I mean, just talk us through it. James Baldwin's incident, quite a bizarre one.
Yeah, actually, it was a qualification infringement in turn 5, where he actually went through the cones, obviously, which show the limit of the track, so we had to invalidate his lap in there, and we gave the positions back during the race, so that obviously enough he goes to the back.
Right, incredible. So just going through that, obviously, was it a case that the slowdown wasn't necessarily applied as it should have been, and therefore it had to be penalised during the race then?
Yeah, exactly. We obviously enough informed them during the briefing that there are cones showing the limits of the track, and obviously enough, if they go through those cones actually they get their lap invalidated, because obviously enough it's something that it's forbidden to do. That's why the cones were actually put there, so that they limit the cars so that they stay on track, and obviously it's a reference for the track limits.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual Road Atlanta track itself, obviously it's brand new for many of the drivers. What's it been like to police the incidents out there tonight? Have many drivers sort of tested the limits in many ways? Because we did have the 2 penalties as well issued in qualifying for both Rogers and also Sebastian Job.
Yeah, it's let's put it this way. For a new track, for today it was not that busy, you know. In fact, most of the pro tests went through with no fair direction. But obviously enough, yes, I think it was quite good for having a new track, and obviously something new for the drivers. Obviously enough, they've drove on it. They've put in definitely a lot of hours, but surely it's something that we actually are pleased to see how it went.
Well, we'd like to thank you, Adrian, for all the insight as well. Keep on race directing, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you again very soon.
Thank you.
Keep on race directing. That was worse than my Joe Rowe.
Hey, I was
It's okay. Don't worry about it, man. I laughed. Okay, you're all good. You're all good. So, what do we make of that race? What a performance from Jamie Fluke. I'm gonna say no. That was certainly no fluke.
It wasn't a fluke. And do you know what, as well, one of the feel-good factors about this is that Apex Racing Team don't necessarily come into this as, should we say, the head honchos of the championship. Of course, they've come into it, they've steadily progressed, they've got better. They're probably one of the most dynamic teams in terms of progression that we've had in the championship. And the fact that Jamie Fluke has come in, Lewis is absolutely right, one of the senior members of the paddock, but is still delivering the great results. And is this peak Jamie Fluke, or could there be something extra? Because he seems to have found a shining light in the Mercedes.
I'll tell you what, I'm super excited to see whether or not he can keep up the same performance on land at the major. I think that's going to be a real story to dive into, but we should also dive into the final results for our finals as well. I've got to tell you, I'm not looking forward to hearing Lewis McGlade go on and on about how right he was throughout the entirety of this round.
No, not at all. I think the one thing I do want to point out is that I believe, I mean, obviously I think we'll obviously make sure this is true.
As well.
Apparently I won the prediction thing between us lot, so I'm delighted. Big dub for the George Morgan Meister.
Who did you bribe for that one? You know what? You can tell me who you bribed about it later once you get your story straight and all of that.
No, I just used my head instead. That was all.
Oh, okay, savage. It's time for us to check in with Jamie Fluke. Jamie, homie, how's it going? It's got to be an incredibly good feel-good feeling for you.
It's unreal. That's a lifetime of effort has gone into this, and yeah. Oh, what a day! What a day! I can't believe it.
I'm sure it
Actually
must
cannot believe
be so draining for you though. Have you been like racing Road Atlanta non-stop since it's been added in?
Pretty much. Historically, it's been a terrible track for me and every other platform for 10 years. And yeah, of all the places to actually, win the big race and pick up a win in the final, yeah, can't believe it. It's, unbelievable.
You should be so incredibly proud of yourself. You've given us 10 out of 10 racing. Absolutely amazing. But I need you to tell me your secrets. What has preparations for Road Atlanta look like? I know you said just racing non-stop, but give me some more intel. Give me the tea.
I've spent the last 2 weeks in this hoodie, even when driving. I've been so cold for the last 2 weeks. The weather's turned here in the UK, and I'm like, no, I'm not getting out of this hoodie anytime soon. So I guess I'm going to have to wear it from now on, no matter what the temperature. So, but to be fair, like all the lads have put in so much work into getting used to the car over the course of the season, because we're the first and only team to have switched in the series. And we've all got sort of pretty well dialed in. This is a track where both Kev and Johan are particularly strong, so they helped me out a ton. And it's just amazing that one of us could pick up the win in the final.
Well, you guys have actually gained 2 positions in the team championship as well as a result of this. So I got to ask you, how much of an impact do you think the Mercedes-AMG partnership has had in the improvements that we've seen all around for your team?
Yeah, it's been instrumental. Those guys are super useful and super helpful to our development, not only as drivers, but as a team and organization as a whole. So, we're very happy with how things have went so far with Mercedes-AMG, and long may it continue.
Well, 3 of you were actually in the top 24 for the major as well. What kind of support are you guys able to give in way of Elvis to kind of help him with his improvement and development? Yeah, so Elvis obviously came in this season completely fresh. He didn't participate in the spring season. So anyone that's come in, slightly late or slightly behind the 8 ball or slightly behind the curve has had a hard time sort of getting it all put together. Elvis did sort of struggle a little bit at the start, but his speed has definitely come on leaps and bounds over the last sort of month or so, I would say, especially since I think the second time that we came back to Monza. He started to find a lot more speed. He's made a few semi-finals as well. We're really happy with how he's been developing. And for the next round, he's very optimistic, looking forward. Hopefully we can get him to score some big points. And I don't think he's mathematically out of making the major in Sweden. Yeah. So fingers crossed that he can pull a massive result out of the bag, and maybe he'll get there as well. Well, I was seeing a bunch of pairs of legs behind you, so I'll let you go in just a moment. Before I do, though, any final words for everyone that's been supporting your journey? Yeah, everyone in the team has been amazing. I've been here since 2015 now. The lads are all amazing, and this is as much a team win as it is my own. So, massive thanks to the team, as always, for everything that they do. Well, congratulations once again. You most definitely deserve it. I'm going to let you go ahead and celebrate with the team, and it's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you very much, Jasmine. Oh, such a feel-good, it's very heartwarming, no?
He was holding back the tears, wasn't he? A very emotive conversation. I thought he was going to break down at one point, to be honest. And he has every right to. I mean, that couldn't have really gone much better for Apex Racing. I mean, the only way it could have got better, of course, is Kevin Ellis Jr. coming second. But, I mean, to come home and get a double podium for the team is unbelievable. But for Jamie Fluke, for a senior member who's been in the sim racing community now for such a long time, these are the days that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And I think for him as well, garnering a final win, it's another new name to add to the list, but it's also, someone who has been, integral part of the sport now for such a long time. So this one, I think, means a lot, not only to the team, not only to him, but also the entire sim racing community.
I couldn't have put it better myself. You're completely right. You can see how much it means to him, and obviously the team eagerly wait. I felt a little bit bad keeping him for an interview for as long as I did, because the team just wanted to celebrate with him. But you know what? Congratulations to him and the entire team. They most definitely do deserve it. But you know what? I think that should lead us in pretty darn nicely to visit our top 24. George Morgan, we only have one more round before the major. How are you feeling about that?
I can't believe it's coming to an end. I don't know about you, but look at this. Top 24. The complexion has changed somewhat. Bono House now in a little bit of trouble. Jakub Brzezinski, Mitchell de Jong still right on the threshold in P24. Isaac Price, with that great result, now has breached the 100 points mark and currently sits in 20th place. It doesn't mean he's safe yet, because obviously a lot can change when we head into round 8 next time around. Also, Thibaut Casibon doing barely enough as well, 19th place after his semi-final appearance. James Baldwin, I think, will be hurting a little bit after the steward's decision that put him to the back of the field during the race. And then, of course, Jeffrey Rietveld, not to mention Thomas Tatler. There's some names there, but obviously the main cutoff has surely got to be in that bottom segment. There is going to be a real thrill ride come round 8.
Well, as we take a look at the top 30 now, honestly, for me, I'm really hoping that Enzo makes it to the top 24, because, you know, the vibes are always good with the Redline boys. I feel like they thrive off of one another's energy. They very much like ground one another as well when it comes to that LAN environment. How about for you? Do you feel like Eamon Murphy is another one I would love to see at the major?
Well, I mean, look at that. Holzman, Sorensen, Kasdorp, Benito. I mean, Benito and Kasdorp both sharing 70 points. Sorensen a point ahead. Holzman 2 points ahead. It is so tight and congested to get into that 24 spot. It's unreal. De Jong is going to be twitching right now because Holzman and Kasdorp, they are the difference makers in Mouse getting another 2 drivers into Sweden. Lasse Sorensen as well, representing the Furia team. We know how relentless he is, and the Great Dane, I'm sure, will be looking to marshal himself a chance in the top end, but it's just so tight, and including the likes of Eamon Murphy, he needs an absolutely massive final round in order to achieve the unthinkable. But yeah, it's unbelievable really when you look at some of those names that are currently outside the top 24. It's just beggars belief how they haven't made it, because they are phenomenal talents.
Yeah, they really are. But you know what, I think Jamie said it perfectly. It's a team win as much as it is an individual win as well. And on that note, I think we should go ahead and visit our team championship to see how everything is shaping up so far. No surprise whatsoever. RHG, I feel like RHG just need to be nerfed at this point, to be honest with you, George.
Well, they've been the prime candidates, haven't they, for such a long time. They were brilliant during the spring phase. I mean, Team Redline were the only team that could stop them, pretty much. But we've known RHG being consistent for a long period of time now, and that gap has certainly enlarged with Toman's performances, Marcel's performances, as well now as Thibaut Casibon coming into form as well, and obviously Yayovsky has brought together some sensational results. Coanda doing great things, but look at ART right now. Apex Racing Team 4th in the classification and just ahead of G2. That's what that win from Jamie Fluke and also the podium from Kevin Ellis Jr. in the final has given them. A huge plethora of points that has now elevated them to 4th place and ahead of G2 Esports and even the likes of Williams. Some really strong outfits underneath them.
The real question is, Apex Racing Team and Team Redline, who do you think it is that finishes in 3rd? Because it's very much down to the wire, all resting on the next round.
Well, that is going to be the tantalising affair, because, I mean, Redline, they do have the drivers, they have the ability. I mean, we saw Kevin Siggy take the final win last time at Spa. Of course, we saw the likes of Luke Bennett bringing home incredible results during the spring phase, not to mention Gamers 8. We look back at some of those results too, but in all honesty, I don't think this is necessarily the strongest Team Redline performance that we have seen. Obviously, Spring Series was by far their best. Apex Racing Team are going the other way. Whilst you've got one team coming down, you've got another one coming up to meet it. So I'm expecting a crescendo in round 8.
Well, one thing's for certain, the competition does not stop for anybody, because G2, while Sebastian Job has been giving us incredible performances, unfortunately he wasn't necessarily able to make it work this time around. So do we think there's going to be a bit of a catch-up affair between Williams and G2 perhaps?
Well, possibly. I mean, if Dara McCormack can find and rediscover his very best form, Cooper Brzezinski, of course, being someone who can bring great results too. Obviously, we saw some really phenomenal results from Nikodem Wisniewski. I mean, they've got drivers there that can really bring home the big results. Jack Keithley, as well, is another name that I'm sure will be fighting it out too. But G2, as soon as they get the likes of Isaac Price firing, I mean, Robbie Stapleford impressed as well, getting through into the semis. But obviously, Sebastian Jobe, they're going to be riding on him immensely in this big fight, and they're going to need as well, though, more names to come in and support him. Otherwise, they could see themselves on the end of defeat here.
Well, once again, let's go ahead and have a bit of a recap as to how our finals for round number 7 have ended up panning out so far. Any surprises thrown your way? Did you have Jamie Fluke down on your bingo card at the start of today?
I mean, I would say that's probably the big shock. Obviously, the Apex Racing team delivering the way they have done. Jamie Fluke and Kevin Ellis Jr. leading the way. Obviously, you heard how candid it is. It's all about the team at Apex Racing team. And results like that can change the perception of a team in its own right. And if you've got youngsters like Elvis Rankin, you've got to remember, he's only a young kid as well, who's got, years behind him. Obviously, you've got Jamie Fluke, who's at advanced age. He can sort of hand off that experience that he's gained over the so many years that he's been competing. So Elvis will look at a performance like that and sort of say, well, this is what I need to do to succeed. And Fluke is the perfect shooter for that element. And that's what makes Apex Racing Team such a great team to be involved in.
I completely agree with you as well. I feel like today's racing has certainly been one for the books. Not only did we get a new track, we also had stellar racing, to be quite honest with you. The real question is, though, with the mounting pressure of the major amongst us, do we think that the next round we're going to see more chaos or a lot more of people playing it safe?
Well, I mean, if we have a look here at the results, I think obviously we saw chaos tonight. I mean, various elements and crazy moments occurred. I mean, you only have to look at Joshua Rogers and what happened as well to Sebastian Jobe in qualifying in that final round. 2 of the top drivers in the championship fight in this very race, both getting sent to the back, obviously for breaching race direction rules. And the same goes for James Baldwin as well. That was another shock decision that we didn't expect. We haven't necessarily seen anything like that, before, where a driver gets penalised after not being served with a penalty during qualifying, as he should have done. So there we have it. That's another one that's reared its head. So call that chaotic. And Road Atlanta marking its first appearance. I'd say that it's a welcome opening for Road Atlanta. It's delivered plenty of entertainment, great for the viewers, great for the drivers.
It most definitely has. Well, George, thank you so much for joining me on broadcast once again. It's been a pleasure being joined alongside you, as per usual, homie. Thanks.
Hey, thank you, Jasmine. It's been a privilege.
Well, for everybody that's tuned in, I just want to say a very big thank you for sticking by us throughout the duration of the broadcast, and of course all of the rounds we've had so far here at ESL R1. If you are new around here, !survey, let me know your thoughts and feelings. Have you been enjoying the broadcast? What would you change? What would you like for us to keep? Let me know what your thoughts are, because we are also giving away 5 tickets to come on and join us at DreamHack for the ESL R1 Major, baby. One more round to go. I cannot wait. We'll see you next time.